Oh, we're off to a great start here. Welcome back, everybody. Conference Cups are.
Yeah, absolutely should. Super psyched for it. You kind of brought up that the list Tryouts from before. I'd say it's appropriate enough to kind of brain them up and look at everyone we've kind of had through. This is bigger than I had originally thought it was, so we'll have to drag it up like this just to make y'all see it. So yeah, this is what we saw before. Obviously, we do not know if there was any cutbacks at all yet. That's something we're going to kind of find out on the spot. Because obviously, there is a lot of big names on here that I think have been very relevant to the scene when it comes to Team Mexico and those that have been representing Team Mexico over the course of quite a little while. You look back at things like the Copa Americana, where obviously a pretty full team and quite a lot of these members from that have been competing over on this tryout. So excited to see where it will go today. And obviously, Dex, with everything kind of in mind, with the American Conference Cups now being done, we know who the 8 teams in that online qualifier are going to be. I don't think we have full specification on how many teams are going to get through, but in many times and iterations, Mexico has always found a way to get through, I should say. Yeah, that's a great thing. That's a great idea. Oh, smart. Mhm.
Teams even, and I think that's what we'll probably see here at the start, where one team is maybe a little bit better, and then they move some players around, and everything kind of evens out from there.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see how things go a little further down the line. Obviously, I imagine it's not actually fully down to just 10 players, at least it's not at this time.
Yeah, it's not.
But yeah, but again, we've seen some iterations of this where it's like, hey, Turkey, I'll use as an example. They had 2 different blocks that they would have within each day, and you would have a certain pull in one block, a certain pull in another. And when you have this much time and this many dates already set for your tryouts, I think it's appropriate in this situation to give everyone a clear shot to play through an entire block and see how they can do. That just makes the most sense if you have this kind of time on your hands, which a lot of these teams that didn't have to worry about their conference cups, that's the time that they've had. We've seen Brazil doing the exact same thing where they are running these 4-hour blocks and having different players come in different times. So you have the time to do it. You go for that 10 out of 10 because that's going to give you a much better perspective and look at all these players you have signed up. Because with these regions that we have, especially you look at like Mexico and Brazil, there was a lot of players trying out.
Yeah, I mean, you have 50 players for Brazil. I believe it was about 29 here for Team Mexico. So again, a lot of players trying out for it. I mean, it's not that big of a surprise considering how big the country is and how much talent there is there. We already know of a lot of the names that were on that initial tryout roster. And I will say this, Hunter, that's what happened last time I covered it, where there was a 2-hour block followed up by another 2-hour block with another 10 hero players coming in. I unfortunately was not able to stick around for that one. Ewan, though, was able to get into the lobby and cover that one on his own stream. I don't know if Ewan's going tonight as well, but I mean, hey, you have me and Hunter here. We should be able to guide you through this one tonight. But yeah, like I've said, I'm looking at some of the names here. I do recognize some of the names that we will be seeing tonight. Outside of that, though, there's a lot of players that we might have only been able to see maybe once, twice, and that's what I really like seeing. I always like seeing those players that we don't necessarily know that much about. Me and you have called it, or I've at least called it, the great unknowns, because you have no idea if they're going to be just an incredible player or a really good player. And we've been really surprised by some of those players we've seen and some of the other tryouts we've been able to cover, especially throughout those teams that are in the conference cups, where we saw some great players. And hey, we're going to continue to see some of those great players coming up and face it here starting tomorrow.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to see. I know we're very excited for that. And as we have our first double feature going on tomorrow, we are going to have a really fun time with that. A couple of matches that I'm greatly anticipating. But hopefully we get to see some of that amazing talent over there as well. Because, again, Face It has been the introduction for a lot of players for us. It feels like ones that maybe we were familiar with to some degree, but we got to get really good looks at them here. And obviously, Mexican players are no exception to that situation. So obviously, hoping for a lot more once we get to that point, but obviously we're just waiting for things to get proceeded with our first map here. We're kind of going through the steps right now, getting everything figured out as to who we're going to see in. Obviously, we know the players we're going to have in, but we're going to see them on different sides, probably swapping pretty frequently throughout the night to see, who fits best with everybody, because we've seen this from a lot of teams. You put a certain couple of people together and it just clicks like that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have those teams and players that have played on some teams, maybe playing the same college team in the past, and you see how good they are right out the gate. And then sometimes it's just, you might get a couple players that have never necessarily played with each other much come in, and like you said, it clicks almost immediately. And that should be something really fun to see throughout the night here. However, while we have the moment here, let me actually kind of read through the names of the players we will be seeing here tonight. Oh God, I don't want to mess anything up on this thing. Okay, so we will be seeing. So we'll be seeing Mauve, Sin, Lei, Delant, Ado, Raptor, Ponyo, Serpent Kurt, my bad, Vintage, and Phantasma. And Hunter, those are a couple players that me and you have definitely recognized from the past. Those are a couple players I believe I covered last week when this happened. So it is 5-5. So we have the two tanks. That will be Ado and Sin, it looks like. Your supports will be Mauve, Lei, Ponyo, and Phantasma, and your DPS will be Vintage, Serpent, Raptor, and then Delant.
Yeah, and it will be very exciting to see. Like I said, pretty familiar names in there. Ones that we have gotten to see in somewhat recent times as well. I recognize quite a few of those names from Andromeda specifically, especially when we're still kind of waiting on the next one, but especially when they had the more Latin American based tournaments. Those were a lot of fun to witness, and I'm hoping for a little bit more as we go into 2026. But yeah, we get to see them here today. It should be a lot of fun as to how things are going to go, and the fact that obviously there is still a lot of time until Team Mexico has to decide properly on a roster. But you still go into this thing like, hey, I don't know how many chances I'm going to get to show off what I can do. I need to go and give it every single little thing that I've got right here. Because we've seen some rosters form, and there are some names, hey, we haven't seen this name before, at least in terms of before we got into trials. But we got to learn more about those players, see how they progressed, how they played, and them being on the roster, once we see it, it's like, that makes complete sense. They prove themselves in that. They deserve that position.
Oh, absolutely. And that's always the fun thing that we might be seeing it here tonight. But looks like we might be heading into our first map of the night. And it's going to be everyone's favorite control map of Lijiang Tower. Not necessarily the biggest surprise, honestly. I feel like this is always a good map to get started on here. Red team and green team. I'm not going to try to say what those names are, even though they're not that hard to say. Or Horchata Diff and Boyo. But we still have red and green, so we'll be able to say that. But you see coming out of the gate here, this has been something we've been seeing a lot more recently where Domina is starting to really take a good spot in the meta where people have been complaining like, hey, maybe she should get nerfed. Hasn't necessarily gotten nerfed yet. Outside of that, though, you see two different ideas when it comes to those hit scans. You see Serpent on the Emre and Vintage on the Cass, especially on this map. I think Cass has a lot of good value. Xeno and Monterey going to be showing us exactly what you kind of want to expect to see from a DPS from a support line. But Lei on the other side, that was a hero I remember from last week's trials where they played Cat a lot, and man, did they make it look very, very good at times. And this is definitely a map where I think, Hunter, you can get a lot of good value out of the Cat.
Oh, 100% you can. We've seen that Cat be played here and there. Biggest example over the course of the weekend, Let was playing it consistently. But as we see out the gate, Sin already down. With that tank going down early, it's rough. But Dex, when you trade out tanks like that, and Vintage gets a nice headshot right there, it can definitely turn that fight, and Green Squad is going to take this one away as Zito and Monty are just going to try to get out of there, take the reset, as Green will start out strong.
Yeah, and this is why I like this Cass pick, especially on this map. It's a little bit more close quarters, and I feel like that's where Cass kind of excels compared to a lot of the other hit scans. Because, yeah, he gets good damage at distance, but close quarters, he has Flashbang, he has Fan the Hammer up until you get the second perk, and it makes him very, very strong here. It's going to be hard for Sin to really do anything, especially in this composition where there's so much on the other side that can really stop you. So you have to be a lot smarter here if you're that red team playing around Sin on these dives.
Oh, no, that's exactly how it goes right now, and Otto has to be a little more careful right here, but again, it's Serpent who's going to be cut out early, and now that is the cue to try to bring a little bit of aggression with Mouth going down. Now you're going to see Red start to take over this fight, try to push some bodies back. Sid needs to be careful not to go down too early as the rest of the team is getting cut down, but still hanging in there. This is still a winnable fight.
This is still very much a middle point. Yeah, red team, though, needs to start going towards point. However, you still have Lane, you still have Ado right there who's going to find Raptor, and that only leaves Sin there. And look, they just have to back out because of it. Both these teams are coming up to ultimates, though, so you could see a lot of stuff come out this fight. Catnap ready for Lay. It's going to be really interesting to see how they use it and when they use it. And they have to grab it onto the right person. And honestly, the safest person to grab it onto would probably be the Lucio if you want to make sure you get a confirmed kill from it.
You would absolutely love to, but obviously no one's going to make that easy. Sin can easily punch you out if Sin is not the one that is grabbed, but instead we have the override protocol going through immediately a couple of low bodies. Serpent and Enemy should not take themselves out, though, as you're going to see full advantage being taken here. Concealment Rush is going to give them all the space in the world, and Green, 80% already on the board. And for Red, it might be a bit of a rush to get back to this point.
And Lei, I mean, they're playing very aggressively on this Cat. Not necessarily, they should have probably been punished there, but you still look at Red. 3-4 ultimates to their name, and I mean, you got rid of both support ultimates there for a green side. However, Fly Noon coming out here, but they might just be faking it.
It might just be, it does kind of cause a weird situation of the touch as Panopticon comes out, only ends up catching onto, I believe, one. We'll see if it's going to be enough, though, as you see Sin trying to come down from that meter strike. Will manage to catch a couple out, gonna start clearing out some bodies, and Red is gonna take this point away from them at the 99% marker. They do use quite a bit to do it, but unfortunately, they had to.
Yeah, 3 ultimates out there from them. Also, basically, I believe 2 out from the other side there. The Deadeye not really getting what you want there. I think Red Team played that very perfectly, knowing to expect the Fly Noon, especially with the Cat on the other side. And then the Panopticon. It seemed like they really only wanted to go after one person, but I just think it missed there. Raptor, though, if you want to get something going here for the Red Team, you have this Pulse Bomb. 1 kill would be huge. It would slow down Green Team and allow you to keep all this momentum you have right now. But D-Land, you have to be watching for them. They're going to be looking for this Sundering Blade.
Yep, just hoping for that opening as the Pulse Bomb comes out. Has to duck out of that really quick. Sundering Blade hoping to make a little bit of room. Doesn't get a whole lot, but Sin is just completely caught out. We bring ourselves back over to the 4v4. Serpent needs to try to build up over to this override protocol to try to turn this fight around. It really is the only thing you've got as bodies. Going to start going on one after another. Raptor tries to get rid of Vintage, but Vintage just barely hanging in there, staying alive, and the Catnap is coming back. In this situation, I would love to grab Sin to take them away, but Serpent only able to get rid of one, as pretty sure Sin avoids the Catnap, so momentary life still alive for this Red squad. but momentary is the key word here. There will not be a retouch. 100-40 to get this first round started.
Yeah, and a really good round there for this green team. I think this was a map, especially with the composition they were playing, was a little bit better set for them. Playing that Doomfist into, well, yes, it was able to find some good value in some fights. It's a little bit difficult to do it as well, especially like how I said, red or green team has a bunch of heroes on that side that can really just make sure that Doomfist doesn't find a lot of value once they go in. You have Ado playing the Domino with the push. If you get the stun, it stops Doom. Flashbang stops Doom. And then still Mob and Lei, they are not necessarily the best targets to go after if you're Doom because they are very, very mobile. And D-Lant is the only other one left, and still at the same point, very, very hard to kill on that Domino, on the Vendetta, even with the slight nerfs that she has gotten lately. However, it looks like no big changes for red team going into this map, and honestly, I feel like this is a much better map for the Doomfist, and really for what the comp that red team was running, because it allows them to really move. There's just more space, and that's exactly what the Doomfist, I think, wants in this type of situation. And you still look at Serpent on this Emre, a little bit more space, I think will be a lot better, especially for just throwing those grenades. Even the last map, grenades in tight and close quarters is good. I think this one's a little bit better for it.
I think so as well, and that Emre has gotten a lot of popularity as of late. Has become a big fixture for some of these teams right here, but unfortunately losing out your Lucio isn't the best way to get things started. You're going to see the point just simply be given up as Red just has to take the temporary reset. Would love to get everybody out alive, and actually, D-Link going down early would open it up if Serpent wasn't going down, so we're back into a 4v4 that I don't know if they can take yet.
They really can, especially right there, losing Serpent, now losing Raptor. They kind of have to fall back off that here. Green team, again, I think this whole composition is a little bit more just sustainable. You see a lot of individual plays that have to come out from members on red team to kind of get them going, while you have Ado, you have Vintage, you have D-Lant right there for green team that all kind of work together very well, and they can also just go in there and take a solo fight. But Vintage not going to come out on top of that one. However, D-Lant almost goes up there and almost gets stuff killed.
Oh, yeah, and Lei just walks right into that, unfortunately, and now they're going to move on forward. Override Protocol is ready, but not going to be necessary. Just a couple of staggers to clear out right here. Mal going to try to get out of here alive. Does manage to do so, has 44% on the board. That survival, I would say, pretty important to reset quickly as both Kitsune rushes right around the corner.
Both Kitsune rushes online. D-Lant now getting off of the Vendetta, going over to the Echo instead. A little bit better, I think, right now. But you still have Serpent with this Override Protocol online, which I think could be a big problem, as they already decided just to pop it off right now, looking for more. Nice punch coming out there from Sin, just pushing people back into it, but it'll be able to find them out.
Yeah, now this is going to be hard to come back from because the Kitsune rush would be very risky inherently, as Mal has put it right here. Xeno going to hold on to it for the time being and try to back out. Unfortunately, you see the separation of everybody right there. The Ana going to be caught out. And now Kitsune rush is used after the fact. And what is momentarily a 3v4, they're going to start aggressing forward. And Sin just does not have the care to stay alive. So that's going to flip through. And unfortunately, you would have loved to have that rush for a different fight.
Yeah, you would love to have the rush, especially anytime you use rush and lose a fight. You're always saying, like, man, I could have held on that lane, though, finding Raptor out. Look how far green team is pushing up here. Granted, they're going to have to fall back very quickly. Since the one heroes that, they know just where that kill box is, and Lei able to get out with their life. You heard the sleep dart come in, trying to get them there. But now green team still in a little bit of a predicament right here, as you see D-Lant very, very low, but you still have good opportunities for them here. Panopticon, Deadeye, and Dupkin almost online, but the Nano invests on the Serpent here early as red team tries to get something going fast.
Yeah, Panopticon came out. I think it got canceled. Yeah, it got canceled out, and now you lose out on body after body. You can't do the fly noon anymore, and you're just going to be, cleared out at that point right there. Just Lei and D-Lant hanging around. Both would love to live. Unfortunately, only Lei will get such a privilege.
I mean, that's not the worst fight, though. Yeah, you got your Panopticon canceled, but you got rid of Meteor Strike from the other side. And still, red team doesn't really have a support ultimate coming up here for a little bit. Green team, they have Deadeye, which, again, flying in is definitely an option. You also have Duplicate coming online for D-Lant, as here comes the Deadeye out from the ends. It is definitely a flying in, and Xeno will find one.
Yeah, gets it started right there. Again, the separation. Vintage gets rid of a second. Pulse Bomb will hit and finish off Edo, so now you have an opportunity to turn this fight around, potentially. You see Xeno going to swap over to the Lucio to try to make it back into this one. Sin maybe single-handedly can turn this fight around.
Someone needs to get a touch here right now. It's most likely going to be Sin or Raptor who are sitting right there, but there they go in. The touch out from red. Still, green team down one member, but you see Ado come right back on the D.Va, just trying to get back to the point.
Yeah, and again, caught out. Bull support's going to go down, unfortunately. I don't think this is going to be enough. Serpent is right around the corner from having this override protocol, but they're going to be cleared out beforehand. Sin's the last touch on the board. Green is going to take this one away, move in, but remember, next, we are obviously doing scrim code shenanigans, so all 3 points of Legion are going to be played.
Yeah, absolutely here. And green team, again, they're just playing, I think, a little bit better right now. Red team's looking a lot better on this point, but they're still kind of missing some stuff in these fights. I don't know what necessarily is. It seems like Serpent at times is able to really match Vintage and even surpass them. Raptor, I feel like it's just kind of a little bit slow right now, which is something where I know it's difficult to really go up against this support line on the other side, but it almost kind of makes you wonder why we're still seeing the Tracer from them, because it just seems like you want to have something a little bit more consistent that can annoy that backline. Granted, it's Tracer, so it's always going to be strong, but look, Vintage getting off of the cast, going over to their own Emray now. Other than that, looks like Ado and D-Lant now making swaps as well. So Ado sticking with the D.Va that they played really good towards the end of last point, and D-Lant going over to the far instead. But this might just be for one life here to maybe try to find someone out early.
Yeah, you would love to in a scenario like this right here. And Mouth going down early is going to give you a big chance at success. You just have the cat heals, and unfortunately, that's going to be really hard to sustain through a big fight. And yeah, you're going to see the clear out coming through. Red going to be able to securely get this point. When you get that killing blow so early on something like a Kiriko, your survivability in a fight just plummets.
Oh, absolutely. And look, Vintage getting off the Emray after one life, going back over to the cast. I would not be surprised if once D-Lant dies here, they go back over to the Vendetta that they were playing. They'll get to stick with the D.Va. I think this is an okay pick at the moment, but still, you need a little bit of pressure coming out here for someone on green team. You need someone to be able to apply a little bit of damage. You're probably looking at Vintage and D-Lant for that, as Ado rotating through the back there.
Yeah, trying to find something that D.Va, obviously, lots of versatility to work with, lots of sustainability for that matter, but Serpent is being hunted down by the cat. He's going to barely stay alive as we have the flip come through. Vengeance has already gotten rid of 2 as well. You see the touches trying to come through. Belay is helping finish out all that groundwork, is keeping up the aggression, as that cat is surprisingly very well at doing, as, yeah, that's just going to be a full wipe coming through.
Yeah, I mean, Lay, like I said last week during the trial, I thought that they really impressed me when they played this cat. They really impressed me when they played really any support. But the cat, it's such a weird support. Even though it's one of the newer supports, if you're nimble on it, it's very, very hard to hit. And you're still looking at someone like Serpent and Raptor to be able to try to find them. Even Xeno a little bit here. But Lay, Catnap ready to go here. Gonna be throwing it right onto Sin, and instead of throwing them off the map, just bring them right to the entirety of their team.
Yeah, it's way too much trouble to go off the map with a Doom as it is, but especially where they were at. So cleanup just is going to come through. Some late picks on top of that. So Green just picking up where they left off. And now, as they're still getting more picks, by the way, that Fly Noon is going to be available once more. And this is probably the most deadly of the 3 maps to have it.
Yeah, a lot of open space, only minimal coverage here for that Fly Noon. Sin, okay, Mob. Not your best moment right there, but you're able to save it. Sin now going over to the D.Va as well. I think this is actually going to help their team out a little bit. I think the Doomfist is very much a solo kind of play tank. The D.Va is a little bit more of a team play one, as you see them getting set up for the Fly Noon, but I think they're going to hold it for the moment as everyone rotating through right room for red team.
Yeah, you saw right there as the Fly Noon is behind. Oh, they're just going to go for the solo right here. This is so unfortunate. Serpent caught out, and now everyone in rotation. Now, the bright side is, while this fight is starting to become a bit of a losing effort, that flip did come through, which means Red realistically should get one more fight.
It should get one more fight here, but if you keep on staggering people out right now, you're going to only hurt yourself there and just force yourself into staggering more touches out. Beat though out from Mon, as that's really going to force Red Team into a sticky situation and losing Serpent.
Yeah, and now you're going to go over towards the point. Barrage ready for D-Lant to potentially close this one out. And even though Kitsune Rush is here, there's just not enough bodies sitting by. Vintage gets rid of another. He's gotten 3 on the fight already, and all Sin can do is stall for as long as humanly possible. Bomb right around the corner. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get here in time. Yeah, just shy. Cleanup coming through. Vintage got rid of 4 during that whole fight. Is hoping to get the 5th. But Otto going to take it away, and that is going to be the full clean sweep right there for Team Green.
Yeah, and Green Team, a strong start to this map. Really good performances all around. I think Otto did a good job on the tank. Vintage, like I said, had really good moments there as well. And D-Lane, I mean, everyone played really, really good. And we talked about Lei a lot, especially playing the cat, a very unique kind of play style you get with it where you almost have to play it as a DPS hero. And you have to remember at times you are a support. And we saw that a lot here from Lei in that first map, getting play of the game for a good reason. Are they playing on a controller?
There's a chance. Yeah, you never know.
Wouldn't surprise me. But again, a good first map there from the Green Team. Red Team, they had their moments. Like I said, I thought the Doomfist was a little bit interesting from there. Like I talked about there for a brief moment. Very much a solo kind of play tank while you're really hoping the rest of your team is there to really clean stuff up. And it really comes down to that synergy from the team. And we talked about that coming into it. Are we going to see teams that click right away, or is it going to take them a map or two? And by that point, when you're finally starting to click, oh, you might be seeing one or two people go to the other team. I mean, it's a rough thing, but it's something you have to get really used to here in these tryouts. I think Green Team still had, Red Team still had opportunities to really take a point away, try to hold on to it, but it just was very, very difficult for them, especially towards the end. You saw why Vintage was just able to hit shot after shot after shot, allowing Ado, allowing D-Land to kind of just clean up a lot of those engagements.
Yeah, opens up the space to be able to do so. And it truly is lovely how they went about it, because this was a team that what we saw that was willing to be very aggressive in some of these fights, at least with their ultimates. There were times where they would typically be the ones to take the aggression, they get those early picks, and unfortunately, as a defender at that point, all you really can do is you have two options. You take the risk, you try to throw ults back into a 4v5 or even a 3v5, or you simply have to surrender the fight and either get out or just stall the point for as long as possible. And the problem is, Dex, as you might have figured out at this point, none of those are good options. None of them are reliable options. So it puts you in a rather lose-lose situation. This is why you benefit from being an aggressor 9 times out of 10 in the game of Overwatch. So hopefully we see a little bit more of that. But of course, it's the first map. You're figuring things out. Things can change a lot over the course of the night.
Oh, absolutely. And we will see that throughout this entire block that we have here with these two teams. Again, we only have 10 players for this block here, so you're not going to be seeing anyone else come in. And if you do, it probably just means something happened. Someone had to back out for a little bit. But still, I mean, we're going to be seeing a little bit of movement, I imagine, throughout these teams at some point tonight. It did take a couple maps last week when I covered it with Ewan before we saw those changes come into play. So I think especially Green Team looked great throughout that entire first map. Red Team, they got better, but it wasn't enough. They were able to take points away. They were able to win fights, but still, it was only one fight there. You can talk about Red Team coming out on that weird comp to start everything, as they were really, I think, just trying to get a quick start, playing something a little bit different, hoping that it would throw Red Team off guard. But it just didn't there. Red Team was able to really capitalize off it because of the changes, and that's something they need to be able to do here. We talked about it a lot during Conference Cup, so it's being consistent, winning a couple fights in a row, building up some momentum, building up some momentum. Ooh, banned heroes now. Cat and Lucio being banned out here. So Lei is going to have to play something else. Same thing, I believe, with it was Mont who was playing the Lucio last time around, but we're over to Havana now, and this is a much different map. I still think this means you could see a lot of Ado playing that Domina on this map, definitely, but no, it's actually be Sin playing the Domina, Ado going over to the Sigma, the other poke tank, and outside that, really no big surprises yet. Vintage sticking with the hit scan, Delant going over now to the Echo, and Mauve and Lei. I mean, this is a very unique backline, a very damage-based one where you're going to be looking for them to find a lot of damage and picks off it as well. But the healing output from it can absolutely be insane. Now we're seeing some red team picks come in. Zeno and Mont going over to, again, kind of a little bit of a glass cannon composition on that support line. The Zen, Ana, I mean, very, very strong right now. And I mean, serving maybe a shot on the Widow, but then probably swapping off to something else. Another hit scan, I would say probably back over to the Emre that we saw him earlier, that saw him play the entirety of that first map for the most part. Raptor, though, on the Genji, it's going to be really, really fun to see it, because you're going to need to have a lot of good play from that Genji here right now, especially with the composition that Green Team is playing. That deflect can come in very, very handy for them.
Yeah, it definitely will. So we'll have to see what it goes down. Obviously, you substitute in the Ana instead of the Baptiste. You can play for Nano Plays, which, to be fair, with what you're walking into, the biggest thing you have to worry about, obviously, is Immortality Field. Also, that accretion from the Sigma is also going to be tough to deal with. But we'll have to see that a little further down the line, as that first corner being given up for free, as And it kind of needs to play for your life in that situation. Every single time as the tank, you need to prioritize your survival as much as humanly possible. But as they go in here, nobody willing to be that first aggressor and push on forward. And to be fair, I can't blame either team for that fact.
I mean, Sin's pushing up as much as they can, as much as the Domino really allow them to, as all the sticky nades land there from D-Land, but not much that you can really do there because you're just playing an off angle, and Ado just needs all the attention focused on them.
Yeah, and now you're going to see the beam try to take him down. Sin, though, actually goes on and over there, and Malv gets rid of 2 to clear this one out, and now everyone needs to fully back out. But everyone resets pretty quickly. You get that cart very far for, the span of a minute.
Yeah, you get very far for a span of a minute, but we see this a lot on just escort maps where the defending team will allow some space because it puts them in a much better spot there. But Ado's staying alive through all that, and that's one thing I talked about coming into this map, especially with the support lines that you're seeing from both teams. The support lines are not going to be afraid to get their hands dirty here. They're going to be looking for picks as well as trying to heal as often as they can. D-Lantha already has duplicate. Mauve has that. Ant Matrix ready to go here. But Serpent swapping over to the Soj now, looking for a little bit more of a constant damage as Raptor gets a nano early.
Yeah, and I don't hate it because it's working out beautifully. And now, full cleanup going to come through. Edo's the only one still alive. And now you put 3 on this point. You push them back. A retouch here is technically possible, but I don't know how feasible it is.
Yeah, it's technically possible, but you're not going to do it. You'd only be sacrificing yourself and putting yourself in a much worse spot. Are they, though? Yeah, they're going to get it. I mean, they have Flux, but the Panopticon coming out, I don't think hits on anyone.
Yeah, this is just going to eventually be delaying the inevitable right here. And here's the part that really stings. You get the full light coming through, and you can say, oh, they took away 15 seconds. But Dex, they also lose all that initial control of the high ground that they could have had.
Yeah, and the Flux as well. As you see Ado getting off of the Sig, going back over to the Diva now that we saw him play a little bit towards the end of last map. Same thing with D-Land, getting off of the Echo. Granted, they just did use a duplicate, which didn't find anything. I think it was duplicate for half a second before they lost it. So they're going to be matching Raptor on the other side. Mauve as well, getting off of the BAP, which I thought was doing pretty good for them. Going over to the Ana instead, you're seeing a big difference here. Is now the Captain Sun out from Lei.
Yep. Going to catch on to at least one right there, and obviously no cleanse to be spoken of, so full wipe will just come through, and now they've kind of repositioned right there. This is where you see a lot of strangleholds happen right here, because second point, as deadly as third can be, second isn't much easier.
No, second isn't much easier. It's a big difference from first point where it's a little bit more close quarters in these dive compositions or these poke compositions. Kind of have to be changed up a little bit. And you already see them swapping here. Sin going over to Diva, Xeno going over to the Wu Yang now instead. I mean, you still have ultimates coming up here if you're red team. You're going to have a dry blade unless they decide to hold on to it. But you have the override protocol online for Vintage, which you really need to be able to get something going here from it. Granted, the Captain Sun was all they needed last fight to win it for them, but right now you're looking to just find that early pick, and that's exactly what they do right there on the Raptor, and that should force back this red team.
Yeah, not a whole lot you can do there. But the bright side is that if you manage to keep on alive, yeah, you should be able to build up towards your nano, but Sin goes down. This potentially opens up a door to kind of push things back, as Serpent is going to even things back up with a really brilliant shot right there. And a reminder how much faster Sin is going to get back compared to Vintage.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a mistake there by Vintage. You don't need to be poking your head up that far, especially when your team had already kind of won the fight. Now the nano on the Raptor, we could see Blade come out for them, but yeah, there it is.
Yep, trying to go for a little something here. Gets rid of 2 already, hoping to get the hat trick right there as you just have to dive over on the point. Raptor does end up getting rid of 3, and this cart is going to start trucking along, and now you've kind of seen the aggression of Red really pick up in this map.
Yeah, you see the aggression, but look at what they use. They use Nano, they use Blade. They also used Overclock in the fight before that. Granted, it did find Vintage out, but look at what Green Team's coming back in here with. They're okay with those ultimates coming out because of what they have. Yeah, you're going to have a title blast, but that's not necessarily going to get you through this fight if you're Red Team. Green Team is in a much, much better spot. Red Team, though, they need to try to find someone early on, especially if it's someone like Mauve. That Nano could be a difference maker here.
Yep, Nano Blade is going out there to try to clear out some bodies right there. Separation, as you probably are going to lose out, and now that should cause the wipe to come through. Sin Raptor still in there, but Sin will be given what is it? The permission to die is the way I'll go, as they'll be able to reset pretty quickly.
The permission to die. Uh, okay, apparently we're Bond villains now. But right now, I mean, still, green team's still in a good spot. Yeah, you just use 2 ultimates, but look what you have here. You have Bomb, you have Override. You're gonna have another Captain Sun, which the last time Light used that as
Ooh.
the Tidal Blast on the Raptor early. I don't think it found anyone. Now the Override looking to find 2.
Yeah, that it will. And now you're just looking for a little bit of cleanup right here. And this is going to be another really unfortunate fight. As Sin, yeah, just won't get staggered. Now, want to try to get one more fight in here. As, swaps over to the Brig for this last fight now.
I think you just need a little bit more pressure. You use the Tidal Blast, so just getting the Brig, those packs going to become very, very important now. But I think you just want a little bit more cart pressure. I think that's what the Brig is going to be able to give you here. But red team, they do have Bomb, they do have Overclock coming online here soon, but still you have to deal with a Bomb from Ados, the Cap the Sun there. You're really looking at Sin to be able to eat that, but Mob finding Serpent out early.
Yeah, and we see a lot of these early picks, and now, less than 10 seconds, getting to the point is important, as you're going to see just the solo. Oh, actually, it's not even the solo. It's going to get rid of 2 right there. Remake isn't going to matter. Overtime does come through. Serpent finds a pick, but you're not going to be able to retouch this point in time, so it's going to get about halfway through, maybe a little bit more than that, but still, compared to how good things started, it's a very unfortunate series of events as, Oh, so they're doing this the old-fashioned way. Back when we didn't have workshop, we'll find out. We'll see what's cooking here. But for those that scrimmed back before the workshop was truly a thing, we didn't have the ability to go all 3 points if if a team went up 2-0, or if you got like full hold on Havana, it's like, well, we can only play first point Havana. You would just basically reset entirely after 1 round, and then swap sides just so you can fully play the next. That's how we had to do it back when I was a wee old lad.
It might also be because I mean, you did see Lei say invisible, so it might be something where maybe there was a little bit of a bug where someone just wasn't being seen or being shown. I don't know. Yeah, that might just be because maybe Lei hid in a corner and no one noticed them. But again, a really good team around there for a green team. Yeah, they kind of got rolled on the first point after a fight, but they did a good job making those swaps. And that's something that's very important, especially going into what will be the next phase of World Cup, especially when the teams are finalized here for all these teams that didn't necessarily have to worry about conference cups, is having that flexibility, especially with all your players, having that flexibility, especially with your starting 5, just to be able to swap off stuff, because you don't want to necessarily have a tank that can only really play one thing, because then they get punished. And right now we're seeing these tanks play, well, a decent amount of stuff. You saw Sin and Ado both played 2 different things in the first map. Now you're seeing them both play Diva. Sin going back over to Domino, which looked really, really good. I was surprised they got off of it there for as long as they did, but now coming out of the gate, Vintage on the Widow again. I think Widow, this is one of her better maps, especially this first point. If you can just find one pick, it opens up so much for you.
Yeah, it will open up a ton, so we'll see where they bring it in this situation. Again, this really does open up to a lot of possibilities on a point like this. So much room, so many angles to take right here, such long ones at that. So we'll find out pretty shortly how things are meant to go down, as Vintage, unfortunately, is down early. So that's going to take away some big silence already. And Serpent, who honestly was hitting some good shots before, picking up where they left off. And that's going to stop the Scar from making any progress for now.
Yeah, let's go back to the first map for where the green team was the red team. They really struggled, but they got better as that map went on. They had a really good round last time, even though they got held in that second point. But we talked about a hard second point to go through. I'm surprised Vintage, though, right now is actually sticking on this Widow. I thought they'd swap off it after that 1 life, because I feel like it loses a lot of its kind of luster after 1 life. But they're going to be sticking with it because, again, 1 pick, no matter who you get, it's just so valuable right now. But you need Ado to really build some space so that Vintage has an opportunity to find those angles.
Yeah, that's really what you need in a scenario like this. But you see the pressure, Zeno all alone for the moment in Mortality Field, not going to be there in time. So for Red, big opening coming your way. Hopefully you find a little bit more of a follow-up, especially as Sin low for a moment there is going to need some care. Will eventually get it here, but you still have to surrender some space just to be able to keep your tank alive.
Whew, Raptor barely getting out with their own life right there as well, but this is finding that space for red team, and see the image coming out there from Mon, and just gonna try to force them back. But I think red team's gonna very much just hide for a moment and then come right back in with their own ultimates, as you already see the nano being invested on the D-Land.
Yeah, again, early nano comes through. D-Land, though, starting to run out of a little bit of health. Vintage making down early. Everyone is grouped together and eventually going to get 1, 2, as Raptor is still hanging around in the back, trying to keep things alive right now because all that's left is those two, and unfortunately with no sustain, this is not going to last for very long.
I mean, you have Sin, who can kind of sustain through a lot on their own, but you have Panopticon. I don't know if you necessarily invested into this fight, knowing that's probably a lost cause. It'll gonna be able to find them. And, I mean, Serpent can come out and get a touch, but isn't necessarily worth it. It looks like no, they just want to kind of get set up. However, Sin and Raptor are not going to get those forward spawns. Instead, they'll be taking the long walk back. Doesn't matter, though, because again, map reset, so we'll still see red team push as far as they can. But you look at Sin getting off the Domina again. I really do think Domina works a decent amount here on the second point, but they want that speed, they want that movement back. And we saw the Doomfist from this team and this player in the first map. It was very hit or miss because they played solo, which again, kind of what you need to do on the Doom, but you still want to be in sync with someone. It looks like they're going to try to be in sync with Raptor here for the most part.
Yeah, would love to. Again, you still have a blade ready to go. May not have an nano for it, but now you create the opening of Serpent with the overclock, trying to make a little bit more space for their squad. Unfortunately, Red playing extremely smart, not letting to anybody kind of just poke around unnecessarily. Unfortunately, Serpent not going to get a whole lot of value as a result, but D-Land's going to go in with the blade, gets rid of one, has the cleanse as well, so is going to be able to go in, but the response from Raptors here, unfortunately, they are utterly surrounded.
Ooh.
Didn't find the slice they were looking for, and now Red is going to keep proceeding onward as Sin is trying to escape. Try as they might. Looks like they just barely do. Wow.
They will. Ado could chase him down, but I think it would only cause a DMAC from them and a usage of the bomb, so I kind of like that play there from them, even though you would love to get that one kill. But you look at Red Team has here. I mean, they only used the blade that last fight. They're coming up to all four of their other ultimates. Xeno gonna have this Kitsune Rush ready to go, and that's what Green Team really needs here just to be able to win this fight, but you still need to pick early from someone. Xeno, though, invest in that Kitsune Rush early.
Yeah, Lei has theirs online ready to go as well. Everyone kind of hanging up in the room. Nano over onto the Kiriko, by the way, as you're gonna send in that Kitsune Rush over in there, trying to find some bodies. You managed to find at least one there with the kunais, and now without the tank there, it is going to be so difficult to pull this fight back as Red is going to lay waste, take this one away, and get some late picks in the process.
Second point already capped there by Red. Now it's just a little bit of cleanup as everyone for Green just gonna essentially throw themselves onto that cart. Sin gonna have to looks like they're able to get those spawns and swap them there. The Green team though, they're gonna have their meteor strike, they're gonna have their overclock and their own Captain Sun ready to go. Red team only invested their support ultimates into that fight, so you still have an overclock, you still have a bomb ready to go. And again, this is what we want to see here. We talked this after the first map, at that aggressive level. That team, or Green team last map, Red team right now, did very, very good. They played aggressive, but they knew when to back up, and that was always a good thing. And right now, it looks like you're seeing that moment where they all start to rotate back. But, oh, I think you might have been able to find Moth there.
Yeah, and now any momentum they found before is going to come to a crashing halt. Edo is going to get knocked out of the mech. Luckily, is right near the edge, so it can just take a quick reset, and they'll be able to go through once more. But that is, you get that pick over onto Raptor. I don't know if that opens it up enough, though.
It doesn't open up enough because you can still see Sin kind of just control the cart stalled out for a little bit here. Ado though coming back in very quickly. Same thing with Raptor. But right now, the overclock coming out from Serpent. It looks like they're trying to find someone out here early on. Almost getting a nice combo there with a Sin. Ooh. But now the Captain Sun will win on the two. However, I think they both cleanse them.
Yeah, it really does end up cleansing it. Now you're in the 3v3 as it's just coming down to the wire right here. Sin, the only one left standing, is hoping to hang alive in a 2v1. Right now, just needs to focus on survival. He's going to be able to get out alive as Red just going to try to get what progress they can until the rest of Green gets back.
I mean, Red, though, is in a really good spot. They have a little bit more of a numbers advantage here at the moment. Sin, though, just trying to play their life. Going to be able to almost get Ado off. Vintage, I mean, getting rid of that healing pylon's nice, but still, you only have a couple ultimates right now for Red Team coming into this fight. Green Team's going to have the same amount. Again, I think Green, they play a little bit better when they have that coverability, finding a pick early on, and there it is.
Yep. Investing 2 ults for this fight. I'm going to go in the air. If it finds anyone, that would be a little surprising as, unfortunately, a pylon is not going to be enough to turn this fight around as you'll see the reset from there. And now the question is, after using the bomb like that, do you decide to stick on the Diva? Or was that just a desperate attempt to maybe clear some room and get some picks?
I think it was a desperate attempt. I think they knew they were losing their mech right there, so they just kind of threw it up in the air with the little boost they had. Vintage though fighting Sin. I mean, if you're Green Team, you're going. I mean, if you're Red Team, you're going very, very fast now, knowing that Doom is gone. Raptor though gonna have to be the response here with the blade, but you have a Nano Blade ready for the other side. So Red Team in a really good spot, but Ado and Lei get low very, very quickly.
Yep, and now we have the blades being thrown out right here. So he's going to find more success. They're both getting quite a couple. Raptor with 2. D-Land with 2 as well, but it's Red still moving forward. The full wipe came through. It's a rush to get back to the point, but a rush that will not matter enough. Red's going to full cap. 45 seconds left on the clock. Wow.
Xeno forgetting the cat is banned. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It looks like Lay's letting them know, and we'll go back to the lobby right now. But again, that team winning that map again there, even though they swapped sides, dude. But again, they looked really good. They seem to have a better understanding of how they want to play this composition. I think Ado has been the most impressive player so far of the night, because you can see they're really dictating how much space to be taken by their team. They're also dictating when their team needs to get out of fights. I talked about there for a brief moment. They know when to play aggressive, but they also know when to back up. And I think that's a very, very good thing to know, especially as a tank player. Playing a tank like D.Va, where if you don't have that bomb and you over-aggress yourself, you're only hurting your team when you get de-mech'd there. And we saw a lot on the first map as well. They would push up once they got all the kills they needed, or once they saw people coming back, they would just back out and get back to a much, much better spot and position for them to be able to take that next fight. Very impressive stuff so far from them. Red team though, or the green team, or red team from first map, green team that last round, again, they looked a lot better. They're getting better as it's going on, but you're still running into the same problems again, where you start to play a little bit aggressive and then you don't necessarily back out. It's almost the exact opposite of what I'm talking about there with the team that won that last map. But going over to the Doomfist, again, like I said, it's a very individual kind of play style tank. You need to be in sync with someone there, and it's very hard. Raptors trying their best to seem like to be in sync with them. Same thing with the other DPS player. They're trying to really clean up a lot of stuff there, but normally that Doomfist seems to be just going a little bit too far and not necessarily putting themselves in a spot where their teammates can really help them.
Yeah, that's kind of the give and take with scenarios like that, where if you're a team that's obviously more aggressive, you're risking more inherently as well. You go in really aggressively, a lot of times you're typically leaving a backline behind, especially if you're running something like that Alari, like that Baptiste, the Ana that we saw a lot of the time as well. That's a trade you take, though. You go in well knowing you're kind of leaving one of your supports behind, and you're going in hoping that the counter dive coming your way is enough to kind of go in your favor. But obviously, some situations worked. There's quite a few where it didn't, though. So we'll see how they kind of manage the aggression as we keep on moving forward with the rest of the maps here tonight. Again, not sure if we're going to see these teams swap around at all. I do imagine at some point we probably will. But I mean, just in your perspective, Dex, because again, you've seen a little bit more than I have over the course of the Tryouts thus far. I mean, who's kind of been standing out to you so far in these first couple of maps?
I mean, like I said, Ado has definitely been that. I think they're playing tank very good, no matter what tank they're playing. They've shown us a lot of good Domino. They've shown us a lot of good D.Va. They know when, going back to what I was saying, they know when to aggress. They know when to push forward. They also know when to back out. I could talk about everyone for that team that has won the 2 maps so far, because they're looking very, very good, but you're still seeing some good plays from the other side. I think Raptor has had a lot of good pop-off fights, which is what you need sometimes from your DPS players, just to be able to have one fight where they just kind of take over and everyone else can kind of sit back and not necessarily relax, but know that, hey, this fight is ours because this person's doing really good. I think the supports are doing really good. Lay as well, showing us a lot of flexibility, playing that cat, going over to play a couple different supports that last map as well. Mauve has had their moments playing either the BAP or the Ana there towards the end, and actually the Kyria as well. I mean, there's been a lot of good play here from all these players. It's just, you want to see a little bit more. You want to see some more flexibility, especially with these trials. And now that we're seeing the bans come in, I think we're starting to get that out there, because remember, Lay played Cat that first map, was essentially forced to play something different that last map so that we could see a little bit more of them. And I mean, you saw the playful anger coming out from Lay when the Cat did come out there. But looks like we're gonna be heading to Esperanza for our 3rd map. And it's going to be really interesting to see what we see swapped up here. Actually, it does look like we have a swap. Raptor and D-Land. Looks like they swap sides here. So the flex DPSs on opposite teams now.
And that will be fascinating to see, because both definitely found success in their own right. But there was never a point where, like, one had fully taken over the other. Both had a lot of success previously, especially on those Genjis. But it will be interesting to see how each other work with the other tank. But either way, we're moving forward on this one. The D.Va and the Kiriko banned out right here, which is why you're seeing a Cat and a Wu Young as at this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wu Young is actually in a really good spot right now. I think more teams are starting to experiment and try stuff with him, and I think it's going to work out, especially in this composition that you're seeing from Green Team. I think it's a very poke-heavy kind of comp you're seeing right now, especially with Domina and that support line, which can find a lot of damage. But now you look over at Red Team, and Ado has showed us a good Domina throughout the night. Raptors, they've shown us a lot of good Tracer already. But Mauve on this Brig, I think this is very much a hit or miss kind of comp or pick here, even though I think it pairs very well with the Domina. Just being able to kind of stand around the shield and be able to kind of bash and knock people away, it could work very, very well, but you almost need to play perfect with it, while that other team, D-Land, could just be making their life a living hell at times, because that Brig has to play a little bit more individually than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, a little bit more. Not the Brig of yesteryear for sure, but still, lots to be able to work with as Mauve just kind of trying to hang back, stay alive as much as possible. Ado is just going to have to back out, keep playing a little more selective, because as much as this has really gone on, no one has gone down yet. You see the momentary aggression could end up costing them, but again, so many people solo, nobody wanting to give up. You're going to see Green, I think, start taking more aggressive angles here now that they kind of see these couple of low bodies come through, and there it goes. Serpent with the pick together, this one started, and eventually the domino effect going to be coming through here as Sin going to get rid of Mauve right there. Serpent moves far enough up to take that aggression, but not far enough to be caught out, as Sin will get rid of the second one of the fight, as they will eventually clear it out. And that's a super long fight, and with that being the case, Ultimate's already going to be in effect.
Yeah, both Tracers have their pulse bombs ready to go. You have the Catnap and Mauve getting off the Brig after one life. And I was actually liking how they were playing that Brig. That essentially attaches the hip of Ado, which is something you don't see that often. It feels like with a support where they're attached with the tank. Normally they're attached with their other support here. But like I said, already the image coming out here from Zeno. They want to try to hold this red team back. Pulse bomb though, not going to find anyone. Instead, Raptor gets taken out there by Serpent, who is progressively getting better and better as his night has gone on.
Oh, yeah, definitely has to this point. And now you're seeing the aggression once more. They're continuously trying to move forward, burning away some bodies. Mauve, lucky to be out of here live. Unfortunately, you're just not going to see a realistic retouch right here. As Ado going down, and now the checkpoint comes through relatively early, and you're still going to this fight with the Tidal Blast as well as that overclock.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Green Team, they're in a really, really comfortable spot. Raptor used Pulse Bomb, didn't find anything off it. And yeah, well, Red Team will be coming back in with 3, maybe 2 of their own ultimates. So they want to play fast. Wow.
Ooh, that they are. Vintage being taken out with a little help from that Tidal Blast. 75 meters and counting, and now you have them flanked from both sides. There's not a whole lot you can really do, especially as Serpent lets this overclock go. Sin going to finish off their counterpart, and now Space just being made galore. But Raptor does find a pretty necessary pick to potentially start stemming the bleeding here, and that should eventually cause this progress to come to an end shortly.
I think Green Team, though, I mean, I think the smartest thing they could have done was just kept someone on card. I mean, no matter what, even if everyone got wiped there, they would have gotten the forward spawn. So now Ado swapping off of the Domino, going over to the Winston, so they want to be able to disrupt this backline, because it's not that much of a mobile backline. Yeah, Monterey can move around pretty quickly, but Zeno cannot. They want to get that Immortality field out pretty early on, allow someone like D-Land and Serpent, or someone like Vintage and Raptor to go in. Now Mont going over to the Brig instead. I thought the Wu Yang had been working very well for them.
I think so as well. I think maybe they're trying to play a little bit more for Zeno and D-Land in this situation. I think that might be what you're trying to go for, and play a little bit more for that. But we'll see how well it works out in this scenario, because Red has a lot of great ultimates ready to go right here. That Nano and the Catnap ready to go. Vintage going to get the overclock here with that Nano, and now poor Sin is in such a rough situation trying to skin the cat. Unfortunately, will not be able to do so as you're going to move in. Pulse Bomb comes out, will still catch on to Vintage, but with Raptor and Lay still hanging right in there, this is going to keep on moving. And for that matter, Otto also stays alive.
Yeah, that was very close. If you lose Otto there, you're basically going to push up as far as you can until you see one person commit to the fight, and then you're going to back out. But look, Sin now getting off the Dominant, going back over to this Doomfist, which I feel like it's been really much a make or break point for them throughout this entire night, where they've looked good on it at some points, but so other points, it's questionable more often than not here. Still, though, if you're a Red Team, you're in a good spot. 3 ultimates ready to go here. Green Team is only going to have this Amage, which mostly will probably be used as a little bit of a zoning tool, just trying to take this card back and just buy your team some space. But you already see the dive coming in there for both A and Lado.
Yeah, Mont getting pushed back pretty aggressively as D-Land's trying their best, but Lay's just being super aggro right here, and there's a lot being thrown out by Red to take away this fight. And in this situation, yes, they're going to win the fight, but if you take a little look at that cart, D-Land has taken this thing flying, and now If they get out alive, this fight could... I mean, it's meaningful, but they're not going to make any progress off of it. Oh, they're
not
chasing.
going to make any progress. And, I mean, Raptors going to be able to find D-Land there. So that kind of also hinders Green Team there for the moment because your Tracers could probably be the person you sent out the touch. Grand, yeah, you do have Monterey and Sin on two very good heroes to touch, but Red Team needs to remember to actually push the bot. Lei, though, has this Catnap ready to go, and this could be something, especially on this point right here, where, hey, you have that kill potential coming in there with the cliff, especially if you land on someone, say, like Serpent or D-Land. There's not much they can really do with it, or especially Xeno.
Yeah, Sin tried going for the touch. Unfortunately, I kind of realized, I think the situation at hand realized it just wasn't going to be winnable. And you see the pull, and unfortunately for... Yeah, bye.
Oh, Serpent.
Yeah, Serpent's gone, and Lei is going to clean things up. So now this 54 meters is about to get a lot more, and now this next fight is going to become extremely important, especially as D-Land goes down late.
Yeah, but again, it's not the worst kind of pick right there if you're Green Team because they're going to get that same spawn window there as Sin. But look at what Green has. Rally, Amp Matrix, Overclock. They're not that far away from Meteor Strike and Pulse Bomb. Granted, you might give up the lead this fight, but there's really nothing that Red Team has. Mauve could build up to a Nano here pretty early on, which you have to expect would go on someone like Ado, but nice use of that Amp Matrix there. However, Red Team's just going to be able to kite it out.
Yeah, going to keep on moving forward. Yeah, literally nobody peeking their head. Lovely to see right there. Now they're going to be able to regroup. They have an Overclock and a Nano around the corner. Raptor in the back line as Nano goes over on Auto, and now trying to make a little bit of space. Immortality Field used, but it's not going to keep the supports alive. They are going to get cleared out here as, while Serpent and Sin are in bad situations, for now the second fight in a row, the bot has been stolen, and that is going to prevent Red Team from getting this lead taken away.
And again, it's going to be D-Land who will fall here late, but you take that if you're Green Team, because look, it's all the way back at the initial starting spot. You're getting some more swaps coming here. Monterey going back over to that Wu Yang, which again, was a questionable swap there for me. The rally didn't necessarily find anything. Serpent now going over to the Ashe instead. You still have two ultimates on the side if you're Green Team, but Red Team, now they've rotated into a spot where, hey, they have ultimates and they have ultimates to spend.
Yep, and now you're just looking for the right target. If you are Sin, you trade the backlines once again. You see Lei and Anno both kind of hit with that. Pulse Bomb comes out. It's going to miss ultimately, but you see the separation coming through. Vengeance gets rid of one. Needs to find one more potentially at that point. Get ready to be given up. Gets there with half a meter left, but Vengeance gets rid of another. Literally sitting on 1 health, and the lead is going to be taken away. And with those late picks, this progress is going to extend quite a bit further.
Yeah, and right now the Red Team's playing a little bit of an interesting spot here because Lei's probably going back to go get Mauve so they can be in a part of this fight. This will allow Green Team to come back in pretty quickly as well, but it looks like actually no, Lei's going to be sticking up here, just allowing Maul to walk back on their own. And still look at Red Team. They have Primal Rage. They have their Catnap. There is about to be nothing online for Green Team, and Xeno making the swap over to the Mizuki. It's a questionable swap here late, but I don't necessarily hate it because if you can get that, if you can get the hinder onto someone like Ado, someone like Vintage, you need to be able to confirm those kills here pretty early on.
Yeah, and you go in aggressively with it. Unfortunately, don't get the finish over on the Vintage. But Raptor is there waiting in the wings, and they're going to start clearing things out. Serpent is hanging around, does manage to get rid of 2. But I don't know if it's going to be enough realistically, because they'll get cleared out. Sin has to get back to the spawn, and now it is desperation time for the green squad.
And Lei should be able to carry Raptor back into this fight pretty quickly as well. And you're going to have Red Team with 3 ultimates online. And really nothing still ready for Green Team. Granted, Serpent and D-Land could build up to their own ultimates here, which could win you a fight or at least buy you some time, especially with a minute left to go and a long walk all the way back across the map for Green Team. You need to get something going, and you need to get something going here fast.
You do. Trying to do so right now, but Red again is clearing everybody out. Sin, the last one alive. Little bit of tactical crouch for good measure. And now the bot going to try to get there, but there is enough time, I think, for maybe one more retouch.
There is, but I think you're going to see Hato just go up there and try to play a little bit of offensive lineman, just punching people back into the point.
Yeah.
However, the recall comes out. Sin not able to get back in time, and Red Team, after a little bit of a sluggish start, going to be able to come right back in and make a couple swaps and just roll back through the other side of the map. Again, Green Team, they looked a lot better this time around, especially some of those players. I thought the swaps that we saw there from the flex support or flex DPSs did work out. They did make each team a little bit better, but it was just not enough for that Red Team or Green Team in the end. Red Team was just able to carry that momentum throughout the entirety of that map.
Yeah, they definitely were. Again, there was still a lot of that back and forth that kind of kept proceeding on forward. But as things kind of progressed and things started going a little more back and forth, you saw Vintage hit a lot more of these big shots. Serpent was definitely doing so, but unfortunately, a lot of them were kind of, picks that came through a little later in the fight, to the point where you've already lost one or two really significant players, and it's really hard to come back from that situation. I mean, big credit goes over to D-Land, who multiple times prevented that lead from being taken. Eventually, they just get full wipe, and there's nothing you can do at that point right there. So it's coming out again to Sin being over on this Doomfist, and while I think it's found some kind of value, it really has been things like the Domina, and now in this instance the Winston, that's been finding quite a bit more success.
Yeah, and I mean, right now as they're showing highlights, I mean, again, I don't want to just keep on pointing or calling out Sin and saying like,
Yeah.
okay, this Doomfist is not necessarily working, because it definitely feels like it is by far their comfort tank. And I mean, you can look at the list that we were provided. Like they say as their heroes are Diva and Doom. And when they play Diva, it's looked really good, but Ado's also been able to match them on that Diva. It's just been funny it's been really interesting to see, especially as Ado doesn't list Diva as being one of their like preferred heroes. Ado's been showing us a lot throughout the night. Serpent, I think at the same time, has been showing us a lot, but not necessarily matching what Vintage has been able to do on the other side, or their counterpart in Vintage. I think you're seeing great play from the supports, because again, they're doing as much as they possibly can here for both these teams. But I think Ado right now is the person you really have to be talking about, because they are just, it seems like they're able to pick up and put down any tank at the moment and just put out a really, really good performance.
Yeah, and we know how important having that flexibility at tank really can be in the world of Overwatch that we have right now. Because despite everything, you have seen quite a lot of the teams that announced their rosters. A lot of them went down the solo tank ideology and went 3-3 with the other roles. We've seen that happen a lot, and it's really rare to see a case elsewise. So being able to go in here, show how much flexibility you have, what you could do, that's an important note, something you have to kind of take into consideration moving forward. But obviously, there's still a whole another half of map still to come. We'll see what kind of flexibility comes through. I think the swap between these sides, I think it made things a little bit easier for Raptors to show what they could do. I think definitely had some good maps before, but I think was able to do a lot over on Esperanza.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna probably end up seeing one more swap come out, whether it be the tank swapping sides, or I would honestly probably be looking at the supports. I would probably see either main or flex support swapping. What, granted, those are the only two roles you could really swap with them.
Mhm.
But I would actually like to see Lay and Monterey kind of switch, because I feel like that has been a big kind of thing going back and forth, playing those flex DPSs, or are those main or DPS or main supports? I mean.
Uh, yeah, Leia and Mon are main supports, because there's the question of what is the cat? Is the cat a main support or flex support? I'd like to say the cat is probably a main support. I don't know. I've never heard the debate on it.
It's unique. It's unique
Yes.
enough that we just don't know just yet. I don't know. I would like to see just one of the support swaps, which I imagine is going to probably be the case here at some point. Or, I mean, we did see the DPS lines complete swap last time, and that seemed to really even stuff out for both teams. But again, right now, I think we've seen a lot of good play here from a lot of these players. I mean, 3 maps in. I imagine there's 3 maps to go after the little break they're having. But still, I think you want to see a little bit more from some people. I think Sin is definitely one of them. I honestly believe Serpent might be it as well. And a little bit in Vintage. Even though I said Vintage has had a good night, they've been playing really good on certain heroes and certain maps. I want to see them kind of show us a little bit more. I mean, they've been having some great plays, don't get me wrong, but you want to that catnap was just mean. But you want to be able just to show off as much as you possibly can here, especially because there is probably another block after this with 10 other people going to be playing.
There is quite the likelihood, which we don't have that blood in us to do both. At least I know I personally do
You
not.
do not.
I definitely do not. I will destroy my body if I do so.
I will force you not to.
I'll take a look at the codes tomorrow. I'll make time. Um, but no, it'll be interesting moving forward, as we'll kind of. I'll pull up the highlights a little bit more. I've been kind of showing them here and there, but we'll kind of pull them up and let them play. But no, I think you're right in the last assessment right here. Seeing the sports change around, I will love to see how that kind of changes up the dynamic in these situations. Because outside of that swap over at DPS specifically, well, they're both mainly flex DPS, I would say.
Mm.
You are seeing the same, teams these first three maps in that instance. So it'll be interesting to see how the support lines work differently with the other tanks because again, as a coach, as staff, you need to see how everybody works with everybody because you're finding the best 7 players, but obviously you're also trying to find the best combination of them as well.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely here. And I mean, again, I feel like every coach coming into every coach and every person in a position of power probably has maybe a short list of everyone that they kind of would prefer, like to see be on that final seven. But still, that's what these tryouts are for, to find those people that maybe you just didn't expect, or maybe you just didn't know a lot about. And I think that's gonna be something that's gonna be really, really interesting to see here. But again, I mean, I feel like the team that has lost this has lost the maps have looked good in some. I mean, you could go back to the last map, green team that lost. They looked good out of the gate, but there was a couple swaps that came out from red team very, very quickly that kind of shut green down. And I think they were a little bit hesitant with themselves. I think they might have swapped a little bit too soon because the domino that we have seen from Sin has looked very good and has really been able to step up and even kind of maintain a lot of pressure against Ado on the other side. But again, like we said, it seems like once they feel like that tank's pick's not working, if it's not Doomfist, they immediately swap right back over to it, and you're seeing the other team almost necessarily take advantage of that here. Granted, again, you could see a lot of other stuff come out from the team that Sin is on, and that DPS line could step up from time to time as well. But you see a little bit of a difference in just kind of how the pace and tempo of how red team is playing. We talked about it a lot already. Ado likes to take space, and they know when to back out, which is a very, very important thing, especially in the first 3 maps that we have played. We're taking space and knowing when to get out of fights is very, very key to how those maps play.
Yeah, definitely important in an instance like this. A lot of these maps, almost every map in Overwatch, you have such an importance to where you need to manage your aggression and when is it time to give up on a fight. And what do you do when you give up a fight? Can you get out alive? Do you stall out the cart? We saw Delant make a lot of those decisions of, hey, this fight's lost. I'm taking this bot as far as I possibly can. I might die. I might get out. But my goal is to give my team enough time to be able to regroup, to be able to stop them from getting the lead. That's a choice right there that you make. And to be fair, I think found a lot of success as well. Now, obviously, if you go in a situation where you realize the fight's over, sometimes you got to hit that reset button. Sometimes you do it on the
Mhm.
cart. It's always dependent. No matter what the situation is, you have to make a judgment call then and there. But so far, I think most of the judgment calls so far have been the correct ones of like, hey, this fight's over. I know to go and die on the point. Or hey, I know like, hey, I can get out of here alive. Let's do everything in my power to do so. The calls have been really good so far, and I expect them to continue to be correct from here on out.
Yeah. And I mean, again, they're still in this break right now, and they're showing us the highlights of the last map that we just saw. And again, I mean, Hunter, I hope you're showing because again, the
Oh
green
yeah.
team coming out of the gate, they played very, very well. And this was the interesting part. What I said, having this Brig and Domina, I feel like could really work well. But you saw Mob and Ado just essentially play attached to the hip, and they didn't play for very much longer after this initial fight. But green team, they came out, won this initial fight, won the next fight after that, and were able to get going. Then it was all the swaps for red team that really slowed them down, and I think it was just a little bit of an overreaction or there from green team to say, hey, we need to make swaps as well if we want to get going. Because I think the composition they had here, especially with this Wu Yang, and I think that was maybe the kind of start of the downfall there for the green team because Monterey got off the Wu Yang immediately after using its ultimate and dying once. And I thought the Wu Yang had been doing a good enough job. A lot of damage, a lot of good healing comes out from the Wu Yang, but you just saw red team, they made their swaps and it just worked out for them. And they never were necessarily punished in that many fights after that. Hell, I believe they might have only lost like 1 or 2 fights after they made all these swaps.
Yeah, and I think they swapped to a really good comp as well. Again, you have Mao who has to stay back over on the Ana, but you have that Nano that I think was working really well. I think was timed very well, and everyone else can kind of push up. And the fact that you set up Mao over on this high ground where they're nearly untouchable, I think it's just a really good setup from Red, knowing how to manage their aggression, how to go about things the right way. To be fair, in a game where, again, while we're not in the complete counter swapping days of earlier Overwatch 2, I think now you could still follow in a very healthy way, and picks like that, or I should say, swaps like that, are still really important to take consideration because you want to make those picks and change things up instead of potentially just dying and falling on the sword.
Yeah, absolutely. That play, I wish we saw a little bit more of that one there from Vintage because it was really, really nice. But still, like you're seeing it right here. You're still seeing trades come out in that fight, but still, red team backs out and they get back in very quickly. Grants because the cat's carrying you back in. But look at just the aggression that's coming out from them. Green team's kind of putting themselves in a little bit of a sticky situation in a lot of these fights, and it's just not necessarily enough there for them to get back into it. And red team again, we'll talk about it all night long. We'll talk about it a little bit more probably. Just the aggression level coming out from them has been really, really good. Ado again is kind of controlling how the pace of these games and fights are going. And you even mentioned there the fact that you're able to leave that on the high ground there, which is something you expect almost every team to do on Esperanza because those areas around the checkpoints are so great for dive compositions, and that's where you're seeing both teams play there. Where dive, and no one decided to try to go up there and get rid of that Ana, which again, even if you just get the Ana to even if you just distract them, get them off there, healing their team, and focus on the person that's diving them, it's helping your team out because you're not getting that good healing. You're not getting the bionades coming in, which can heal up their team really good and make sure that your team doesn't get any healing for a brief moment. And then you have sleep dart taken out as well. I mean, you want to be able to disrupt that high ground. That was one thing we did not see from that green team that last map.
Yeah, and I hope we get to see a lot more of it moving forward. We'll have to see how the adjustments go down as hopefully we're getting started with our fourth map here pretty soon, and we'll see if there's any swap-ups for that matter. But I imagine it's going to be like an every other map kind of situation. That's what we've seen for some of these trials, especially like, again, these ones where there's a lot of players to go through, but you have the time to be able to spare. So we'll see shortly. As in terms of what we've seen so far and what I want to see more of, it's a scenario where it feels like we've already seen a decent amount of flexibility, especially maybe a bit more in the tank category, the supports as well, obviously. But the bans have kind of helped in that aspect as well. Again, when you take out things like the D.Va, the Kiri, we had the Lucio and Cat banned out earlier as well. We're looking at those potentially being like maybe at least 3 of the 4 most played characters so far today. So I'll be happy to see how things go as D.Va, again, gonna get banned out. But the Genji also getting taken out as well, which we did see some of that flexibility before of that Genji working with the Ana and those Nano Blades just wreaking havoc on the backlines.
Yeah, I understand why the D.Va's being banned out again, but I would have rather seen the Domino be banned out here. Both teams have kind of really relied on playing it for the most part. But Genji being banned out, I feel like it just means you're going right back either over to the Tracer or, as we saw from D-Land that first map, the Vendetta. But no, looks like they might be sticking with Pharah here for a moment. I'm not going to believe the Ryan pick here, Ado. But outside of that, you're not really seeing any big surprises, I think, from Red Team. I mean, this has been a composition they've been running throughout the majority of this night, especially these players. Looks like no swaps coming into this one. Actually, did the support swap? Did one of them swap? I don't think they did. I don't think they did, no.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
But okay, so Sin on the Doomfist again. You have to play very, very careful on the Doomfist on the defense. You're really relying on your DPS line of Serpent and D-Land to be able to find a lot in this situation. Serpent on the Ashe, I think, is actually a good hero for this point, but you need to be playing angles as getting rid of Xeno early is not what you want to have happen, as they are, like you said, Hunter, they're that, you don't know if they're your main support, but they do provide a lot of healing.
That they do. That always separated, though. D-Land ends up going down, and that is going to be done just like that. I mean, that is an extremely quick take. Sin's going to get one, but I don't know if one is going to be enough. You're going to try to get out with your healing intact. Such is not going to happen, though, and that's a really quick take to get things started for Red.
Yeah, really quick. And honestly, if you're green, I would be making some swaps here. I don't think the Doomfist is necessarily going to work as you really hope it will on the defensive side. Offensive side, different story. Defensive side, I think is a little bit harder, or actually a lot harder to work here. But hey, getting rid of Lei, who's been a constant problem on this cat, is a really, really good thing here for this green team. They need to be able to slow down this red team here for a brief moment. And getting rid of the cat is a really good way to do it. However, Xeno barely keeps himself alive there.
Yeah, Vintage and Serpent are doing their best at the target practice for these cats who sometimes don't have an option but to kind of go in there and try to find a little something. You got to be able to show yourself to find value on the cat a lot of the time, especially when you end up getting that perk to make your scratch just so much more powerful. But you see this prioritization of the high ground for the red team, trying to set up in a decent position so Vintage can try to find a little bit more value, because as things stands right now, everyone from green has kind of been forced away from the high ground. Sin is up there trying to deliver some pressure, but it's really Serpent who's trying to find that pick onto somebody. Unfortunately, right now there's none to be found.
There's none to be found, and the majority of red team minus one person have rotated up to that high ground already. You have one person, I have to believe it's probably Maul that's just on the cart pushing it right here. But you see what happens. Green team loses one, they immediately have to back out, and green team is coming up for three. Ultimate Serpent almost getting taken out. Vintage barely staying alive.
Just barely, and now so many ults already online, so many more around the corner, but with Sin, Xeno dead, this is going to continue onward right there. Copy was ready for D-Lamp, but it would have been a potential waste, and unfortunately, with no Bob ready to go, this touch is not happening, I don't think.
Yeah, Monterey can't get there.
Oh?
Serpent not going to try, but it will be Sin, who does have that Meteor Strike ready to go, but you lose Serpent immediately. Kitsune Rush, though, is out here from green team as they're going to try to hold on to this point as long as they can.
Yeah, Panopticon comes out, Copy for D-Land to get in there and find something. Unfortunately, gonna get knocked out of it right there, eventually going down. Otto got rid of two, hoping to get a little bit more as the full cleanup comes through. 5 minutes on the clock, and both teams do burn a lot for that fight as D-Land goes over to the Vendetta now.
I mean, that's... Otto should have died there. If you're a green team, you're kicking yourself. Otto was so low on health throughout the entirety of that fight, but great plays coming out from Vintage to make sure that the Override Protocol got a lot there. Green team, though, you have Bob. However, at this point, the Catnap, unless we see something like we saw on the first map, where the Catnap was used and just dragged someone back into your own team, it's going to struggle to find very much value. Bob, though, is going to be able just to kind of blitz through Raptor, and that should slow down red team, if only for a brief moment.
Yeah, brief moment for sure. You'll find a little bit more. You take the trade right there, but honestly, you don't mind. You have to wait for your Kiriko to get back. But unfortunately, with another pick, I think you're going to see a lot less hesitation here to move in and try to cut some people off. But at least for now, you're seeing Serpent getting a little bit of care. Unfortunately, separation is still here. Not going to be gone, and they are clearing up bodies, and Red has now taken full advantage.
I can just look at how red team is playing, especially around Otto. They are kind of just following them around, and it's working out very well for them. Catnap, though, coming out there from Lay, gonna be dragging everyone back into their own team. Same thing, though, with Xeno, as they'll be dragging Ado or Otto right back into theirs.
Yeah, and now it's potentially just staggering over on the point. A little bit of care coming through. D-Land has gotten rid of 2 and 3, and now with some help, and we're eventually going to see the cleanup come through. Only 1.5 meters to go, as unfortunately, Raptor Lay realistically shouldn't be enough to take this one away, as they're just going to do a quick regroup.
They're going to try. I don't think it's the smartest thing, but luckily both Raptor and Lay can get out of the situation pretty well. However, Ado, I think, just had their first death of the map here very, very late into it. But you look over at Green Team, they're going to have Southern Blade, they're going to have Kitsune Rush ready to go. Red Team, though, they're about to have almost everything, but finding Raptor out is huge right there. It should really slow down Red Team here for a moment, but they want to try to keep this pressure up. However, Lay somehow escapes.
Somehow, some way, manages to do so. But now you're coming to this fight, you're going to have a Sundering Blade to be able to make a lot of space and have a lot of damage if it does connect. But you're looking at a full slate of ultimates about to be online for Red. That Override Protocol is going to be so difficult to have to deal with, and it's going to be the first thing online for the SWAT. Kitsune Rush is going to try to buy them a little bit more space to work with right here. Remember, that Panopticon is still sitting by for Otto as they are kind of just weighing their aggression a little bit, realizing this is not a good situation to walk into.
Keeps them alive, but now Mob going to come in with their Kitsune Rush. Southern Blade not going to be able to find much. Catnap in as well as Ado already finding 2.
Yeah, and this should be the rest of the web coming through. Couple more touches coming through as Serpent and Sin both find 1 respectively, but Sin's got to live long enough for Mont to get back in to heal them. So close to doing so. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough. You get the momentary touch coming through from the Tracer as D-Land there. Unfortunately, they are running out of help. They are running out of time. Doing a really good job with the stall for that matter, though. Let's make that abundantly clear as Sin is going to try to make the way back. But this is becoming quickly just a stall game as you're going to steal some bodies away, but it's just not going to matter.
I mean, they're still stalling it out right now, and you have to give them a lot of credit for this, just eating away at that time bank, but it won't necessarily matter as eventually Red able to clean it all up right there. Just good play all around there from that red team. Green team, and again, though, we talked about just good stalls. I mean, that should have been a stall that, or a round that ended maybe about 45 seconds ago, but they did a good job just making sure they were able to stall it out long enough there. but still, I think you're still seeing some of the same problems that we've talked about with green team, where again, it feels like you're just kind of being rolled over at times by that red team. And you saw it there, especially after that first point. Cap, yeah, green team was actually able to slow down red team there for a brief moment. They found an early pick, but then they weren't able to keep that momentum up. Red team rotated to the high ground, and green team, it seemed like they were split with playing cart or giving up the high ground, and you saw them play very far apart. Granted, at the same time, you want green team, especially with Serpent was playing on the Ash, to kind of be a little bit further away because you don't want them being in the middle of the fight. It's not necessarily a good thing for that hero. But you just saw red team take that high ground and never really look back. They also just kept the cart pushing during all that. So even if you're trying to even if you were going to give them the high ground, you didn't keep someone on the cart. You saw that same little mistake come out there. Green team, though, were able to at least slow it down a little bit on that third point. Red team, again, they just look very comfortable with how they're playing. Ado seems to be comfortable on this Domina. Vintage looked really good on the Emre again. And Mauve and Lei just keep on impressing.
Yeah, no, they are definitely continuing to impress. And I think they've impressed more and more as this series has really gone on. So hopefully, get to see more as we see a little bit more of that classic Kiri Lucio coming out in this exchange. I think this is going to play into exactly what Green Team wants to do here. Ultra aggression and moving in the moment you want to be able to do so. That's what these characters are going to be able to provide you. But as you see, they're trying to survive. D-Land, unfortunately, he's down a little bit early, so you're going to have to kind of just back out a little bit, wait once more, because if you lose someone that early, you are just forced to get out.
Yeah, and again, a lot of this conversation comes down to how good does Sin play with this Doomfist. Ooh, that would have actually been a huge pick there on the Lei if Serpent was able to find it there. Still has a chance, but again, Lei able just to barely get over the roof. But again, a lot of this conversation for Green Team really comes down to how good does Sin play this Doomfist? Are they able to land punches? Are you able to find early picks? Right now, though, you already kind of have to fall back because D-Land out of the fight yet again.
Just getting cut out super early in both of these fights. I mean, it's hard to even call them full-on fights. They never got to really properly engage as much as they would have liked. But you see Lei, who's hanging around the back line, is maybe waiting for the right opportunity to pull somebody around or pick somebody off. Either way, already a minute gone. It's hard to believe two fights have already technically happened.
And there's only been 2 picks so far either. The green teams are trying to play as a team, but Serpent out early on again. And I mean, you're almost looking at another reset here, but D-Land trying to get something going here. They notice Ado low, but you will eventually find Vintage. However, it's immediately traded out.
Yeah, and I think those trades out just aren't going to be enough ultimately. You're still hanging around there. If you are a Xeno, you're going to be able to... you just have to walk in there. Unfortunately, you're going to go down either way. Might as well go down trying to help your tank. But they're going to reset. Everyone from red going to get enough time to come back.
Yeah, and look, Vintage swapping over to the casting now as well. And Green, they do have some ultimates coming up here, so this could be their best opportunity, but you need to get something going here first. You need to be able to throw the first punch. D-Land trying to get in that backline, but Mauve now in a little bit of a sticky situation.
Yeah, and again, Green's going to be cleared out. They're going to make no progress here. They're building up to more ultimates right here as Kitsune Rush gets used here along with that Panopticon from Otto. So they're going to, win the fight. But they do use 2 ultimates, and Red should be at some kind of advantage coming up in this next one. Unfortunately, Sin is going to die late.
Green team, though, I mean, only using the Meteor Strike. You have all 4 of your other ultimates coming up, and only 2 ultimates ready for the other side. Pulse Bomb can only do so much, and same thing with Catnap. That can only really focus on one person. Granted, you're on one of the only points where, hey, you can go for those environmental kills and get rid of Mob. This is the go button now for this green team.
Should be. Mao being gone is definitely a way to be able to do so. Serpent is trying to stay alive. Unfortunately, going to be hunted down eventually, but still, maybe this has been enough. You see the steel coming through, hoping to get rid of somebody as Lei. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough as you're going on the Wild Goose Chase over to get Mont. It's not going to happen. You need to throw everything. Yeah, they are just going to have to give up the point, which, to be fair, you're trying to get your tank out of here alive, which, by the way, would be massive, but it's becoming undoable.
Yeah, I think right there you saw for a brief moment where Lei was probably yelling at Otto to just get on the boat, but nope, they did not. Instead, going for a couple more picks. It's gonna be a moment now where red team's able to reset. It's gonna be interesting to see, do we see any swaps from them, because that's normally been something we've seen from them. After they lose a fight, they make some swaps and it really works out better for them. But no swaps here now, and I think that's the right thing to do. You're still playing a very good composition, and green team got a really good fight there. Again, you're just looking at the CPS line for red team. Raptor and Vintage have been able to find very early first picks, and they do it yet again here, as you see everyone else now for red team coming right back in.
Yep, and now you're going to be able to maintain high ground control. You get rid of Serpent a little late as well. You're going to see a really cool aggression being played here because, remember, you can just keep the Domino over on the point. And if you need to transition to the high ground, Lei is right there to pick him up and take him there.
Yeah, you also have a Fly Noon probably about to be online here. And Green Team, they definitely know it's coming at some point because all you need to do is just watch where the cast is. If the cast is not staying on that high ground, you definitely know it's about to happen. But D-Land, Xeno do have ultimates ready to go here, and they're able to get rid of Lei, so no Fly Noon right now, but that hasn't really slowed down Red Team in the past. They're already down one. Pulse Bomb going to be yeeted out there, not going to be able to find anything this time, but still, this is a much better start for Green Team.
Yeah, and Iverson really wanted to punch in there and is still going to find some kind of opportunity. He's going to hit the wall. Gonna have some care as Raptor does have a pulse bomb sitting by, but Panopticon gonna come out. It's gonna be avoided as anybody hit with it is gonna momentarily get out. You get the Xeno kill eventually coming through, and somehow, someway, Red is staying in this fight, but Green is still progressively getting more and more pushed as this goes along. But I think with the clearouts coming right here, and it down to just the pure 1v1, I imagine Sin just has to back out.
Yeah, and again, that's a situation where if you're Green Team, I mean, if you're Red Team, you're okay giving up a little bit of space there to take that fight because it's a longer walk back now. Green Team was eventually either going to have to win that fight somehow or just fall back, and they decided just to fall back. And you look at Red Team, 4 ultimates ready to go. Green Team will have 3, but who's going to be the first one to throw out an ultimate here? Raptor is going to find the stick, but a nice Suzu at the Fly Noon above everyone.
Yeah, and everyone just has to kind of hang back. You want to go in and try to find somebody. It's just not going to happen. And to be fair, that's just going to delay the clock even more as they're just trying to buy more and more time, put themselves in a good situation. But maybe they go in a little too much right there. You take the trade out, but losing D-Land is a bit devastating, especially if Red can regroup and find these cleanup kills.
Lei not able to escape it that time around. Sin going to be able to find Raptor. This is a moment where if you're Red Team, you kind of need to fall back and regroup very, very quickly. Vintage now swapping back over to the Emery, but Lei should be able to get Raptor back into this fight as well. You have Catnap. This is an opportunity where you could find a pick, but Serpent trying to make sure there's no option for that as the overclock out from them.
Yeah. Still, you're going to have double supports ready for Red. They're going to be able to move in and get a touch. Lei and Mel both find picks of their own, and now Katsuna rushes out to finish the job right here. As Lei, just take the... I think Lei just realizes it and takes the quick reset. And now they... Actually, wait, never mind. Lei just fell down.
Yeah. on a hero that hovers. Interesting. But you look over at Red Team, even though that was a pretty costly fight for them, they do have Pulse Bomb. They do have Panopticon coming up. Green Team, though, they do have some options. Sin, though, has to use that Meteor Strike early on because they knew they probably weren't going to be able to live. And they find Vintage off it. This is a good moment for Green. They just need to get someone to touch that card.
Yep, big Panopticon as well. Knowles was sitting by for anybody else at this point. You're going to have a Pulse Bomb ready, and it looks like you might not even need it. As Green going to get shut down. Xeno last one alive will not matter, so Green ends up committing a pretty good hold over on the second point. So overall, I mean, again, looking really good there. Great aggression being managed, and again, seeing that Domina come out from Otto just looks really good. It has just been really consistent throughout the night thus far.
Yeah, very consistent, especially like I said, this is a hero that they did not have listed on like their like heroes they play a lot. This is not one of them. Granted, Sig and Ram are on it, which kind of does lean you towards a little bit of poke, and Domina definitely is a poke tank. As I always say, she was described as the first true poke tank since, well, Sigma.
Yep.
But I feel like we haven't seen necessarily a lot outside of the Domina from them. Yeah, we've seen a really good Diva. We've seen a little bit of Winston from them as well. But I would like to see the Domina banned out this next map, and hell, keep the Diva banned out as well. Force them to play something else because they do say Winston and Zarya are also up in their field of play or in the area of play. But so far, again, Otto has looked mighty good throughout this entire tryout. Like we said, maybe the best one throughout those first 3 maps. You have that support line as well. Lei and Mob just look great throughout this tryout here. Green Team, I think the team that lost has had good performances from people, but the Doomfist from Sin is still something that I don't really want to keep going back to, but it's something that is, when it works, man, does it work, but more often than not, it hasn't worked. And it's that individual play that Doomfist really brings a lot of the times that hasn't been working out for their team.
Yeah, unfortunately, it hasn't. And like I said, it's definitely had its bright points, 100%. But you see the consistency you get at something like the Diva, like the Domina. Because again, we saw sit on that Diva earlier, and I think did a really good job on it. So there's definitely this ability to play something else other than the Doomfist. But like you said, it's not worth going back that well consistently because there are a lot of other points. Vintage, who I think was doing a really good job overall, has shown a lot of their flexibility throughout the day. In fact, I think all the DPS have kind of shown off their own flexibility to that own extent, have had their really good moments. It'll be curious to see how they kind of keep developing, though, because there are times where one will definitely pick it up, the other will get a lot quieter. But at the very least, it has been very back and forth.
Yeah, it very much has been. 4 maps down, though. I would take a guess, depending on 30 minutes left in this block, probably 2 more maps left to go. We have seen a push. We have seen escort. We haven't seen hybrid yet. I know that. And we haven't seen flashpoint yet either. So those are probably going to be the last 2 maps or modes of this tryout here today, unless we get another control map, which we did get last week, where we saw 2 control maps and then it ended off with, I believe, a flashpoint map. But still, bans are coming into play. I would like to see maybe have 4 bans out there, have a couple more bans, just so that we can see a little bit more from these heroes. Again, I'd love to see the Domino band out. I want to see Ado play something else, but again, we have seen him play Diva, we have seen him play Winston. It has looked really, really good. Outside of that, I mean, we saw double support bans before. Wouldn't mind that again. I wouldn't mind a double DPS ban here as well. Because again, like we and you have been saying, you want to see the flexibility from these players who, granted, all of them have shown us tonight. They have moments where they look incredible. And outside that, I think everyone has looked good here tonight. But still, you want to see a little bit more from these players, because you're probably already making up a couple of lists right now on all 10 players.
Yeah, you most certainly are. And I think there is already a lot to take away from this exchange, but obviously you want to see how these players are able to finish out their day with these last couple of maps, see what they can do. Because obviously you want that level of consistency throughout the entire night if you can, and of course see them on a lot of different heroes as well. And I think we, again, look back down at the ideology that we've seen a lot of that already. But I think with what we have left, it'll be nice to see a couple of swaps move around. Again, I think that support line would be very nice to kind of see swap around and see how things work in that perspective. But we'll see whether or not that will be the case once we get into our next map, which I think the only thing we haven't played at this point is, I believe, Flashpoint is I think the one map type we haven't touched yet.
And hybrid. We haven't touched hybrid yet.
Oh yeah, we did double escort. No, we did. We just did Echevold.
Oh yeah, wow, I'm stupid. Yeah, you're right.
Happens to the best of us.
You're right. But looks like we'll be going into our next map here, and it's actually gonna be escort again. This time though, it's gonna be a poke map, and Domina is banned out. Same thing with Emre. So a poke map where they would find a lot of value, and honestly, this is probably a ban that you could potentially see coming up here in Faceit and OWCS. These 2 heroes being banned out on this map in particular. However, you still leave the cat there for Lei and Zeno. Actually looks like we will get that swap on the support line. Mauve and Zeno swapping teams here now. Mauve going to be joined now by Monterey on their support line, while Zeno going to be joined by Lei. And you're going to be looking at Serpent and Vintage here. Again, poke map. You're looking at these hit scans, double hit scan coming out here now from Green Team. And this is a composition, especially on this map, I think works very, very well. And it's something where we talked about in the past, Hunter. Sometimes I feel like teams taking double hit scans on that support line, especially for World Cup, works in a situation like this, where you're going to be playing a heavy poke map. Ooh. As Lei doing a good, I think a really smart player out there on the cat, just getting rid of that pylon. But because of it, you lose Ado early.
Yeah, that's a rough one. It's nice to get rid of the pylon. Unfortunately, sometimes that piece is not enough of a solo healer, so that's just going to require the quick reset. They're going to be able to back out, take it once more as, they're going to do it, aren't they? They're doing it. Oh my god, they're doing it.
They're going to do it. Oh, nice little burst there from Mauve to get away from that, and they had to know it was coming. But look at this. It's actually the spacing you're getting. You're having a Green Team push up a little bit too far, able to find D-Land, and now Red just going to be able to keep pushing up, find value here early on.
Yep, and you're able to clear out this first big little, sidelines already. You're going to move forward, and again, it's being carried forward by Lei to make even more space. But eventually, you need to try to keep some people alive, as they're going to be bursting down super low, somehow still up, as you basically just have Raptor holding down the front line as you're going to try to pull away. Doesn't get pulled away this time, but they're still hanging about, making all the space in the world. But the question is, with the trade coming through, is Sin going down going to be enough here?
I don't think it will, but again, I think you're seeing just the confidence that Ado and Lei are having with each other right now, where they're able to do stuff like that and just live. You should see a touch come out here from Green, but no, they're not even going to go for it. I think without having Sin there and just expecting the accretion to come up, you just don't even go for it. Lei, though, has that long walk back on the Iari, so it's going to be an opportunity here for Green Team to get set up. The grapple shot would have been huge there, but again, Vintage, even though we haven't seen them in the kill feed, they definitely have been providing a lot of damage on this Widow.
Yeah, most certainly have. We'll see how things go right now. The site's online for one. Vintage right behind with their own. But you talk about that Gravitic Flux, it's ready here, Fado, to make a little bit of space and find somebody out, because you have the Immortality Field to have to worry about. So if you're Mont, you have to be extremely careful when you use this and what you use it for. Because the moment that it's out, that is your trigger right there as a Sigma to let it loose. But instead, you're going to see the Amp Matrix being thrown out here by Mont to make some space. You take a bit of awkward trade out as you're going to find multiple bodies caught out. This is a lot being used here to try to win this fight. And ultimately, they're going to, the question is there going to be an eventual retouch set up here as Red is just clearing house?
I mean, Sin stalling out this cart a little bit. There could definitely be a retouch, but I think it would be in vain at this point. D-Land, though, going over to the Genji now.
Ooh.
Gonna try to get their Serpent, though. Finding Raptors might actually buy them some time, but is it gonna be necessarily enough? That's the big question. Xeno, they do have their own Amateurs, which they could just immediately use to pop around the corner and try to force Green back to guarantee the second point.
Yep, and you're gonna have D-Land who can at least touch one more time. Serpent might be down. Unfortunately, though, with both of these DPS down, I don't think you're changing this one around. I think you're just stalling, trying to delay the inevitable as Sin goes for it. Catches onto one. Unfortunately, Immortality Field is there in time as Raptor goes in with the blade. And unfortunately, that's enough to push everybody over off the point as everyone takes a reset. 4:40 left on the clock for Red. Another really good push coming through for them. And double support still sitting by.
Yeah, Xenon's been holding on to this for the longest time. They made the swap from the Cat over to the Yari, so they just got online, and now we're seeing Sin go back over to the Doomfist. On this point in particular, again, Doomfist can find value, especially if you're playing up on this high ground. Right here, you could get potential environmental kills, but you have to play it almost perfectly, and you've seen Ado really be able to punish that throughout the entire night. Serpent, though, sticking on the Widow. If they can find a shot here, it would be huge, but you're not going to be able to find it. Instead, Captain Sun out.
Ooh, yeah, and it's finding a bunch early on. Already gotten rid of two. Trying to find the separation. Lei gets the hat trick as now everyone's got to run for it. Four. Do we see it come through? No, Raptor takes it away. But still, yeah, that's emote worthy. We'll take that.
I imagine there's a little bit of maybe talk going on there with Raptor in chat, but it doesn't matter. The 4K right there from Lei. I mean, they have impressed us all night long, no matter what hero they're playing. But again, Sin now coming back in, gonna try to solve the card here for a brief moment. But you look over at Red, 3 ultimates to their name. You're only gonna have 1 ultimate ready for Green Team, and unfortunately, it's just Visored.
Yeah, and it's the site's, it's cool and all. It's not gonna make this fight easy, but finds a nice headshot. But unfortunately, Sin does not retouch the point. And who knows how that fight could have gone down elsewise. Unfortunately, we will never know.
Yeah, but again, that Red team, they look like a well-oiled machine. Even with the support swap there, as Maul went over to Green Team, Xeno came over to Red Team this time around, it seems like they're still able just to basically pick up right where they left off. And I could go back to what I said about halfway through or around the end of that first point push there. Ado and Lei are so in sync. They should not have been able to fly up as aggressively as they were with that Cat and the Sigma and do exactly what they did. But that got them that first point for free. I mean, essentially it did. They played a very aggressive and it worked out for them. Maybe one of the only times that, well, I mean, hey, Ado still got out of that fight, out of that entire situation live. Lei was the one that died. But still, just able to push up. Vintage stayed on the Widow that entire time. Normally see the Widows swap off, but I don't believe Vintage died up until that last shot you saw from Serpent there, that entire round. So it kind of showed you how well they were playing just by playing far back. There was no necessarily from Green Team, just backline pressure. And, you know, you see that a lot on this map as you get rid of the Tracer and that Flex DPS to play that dual hit scan, which, I mean, you're seeing them do it again. But Raptor, they're going to be able to have that backline pressure with this Genji and still have Lei on the Cat to be able to say, hey, get me out of here. And that's probably going to be what you see them do, because I don't believe you're going to see Ado fly over the rooftop again.
Be really funny if you did, but no. But Lei is just watching for picks, see what everyone's going about. Almost gets their head taken off as we see that for a moment. As they're still kind of peeking over, kind of seeing where Serpent's hanging around at. And honestly, I don't hate those necessarily, but Lei does have to kind of manage themselves right there, because getting caught out once, that's all it takes right there, is going up for the shot. Unfortunately, not going to find anybody. But again, I look around and I talk about things simply being a threat. Knowing the Widow is there, that being a fact, makes you play differently just off of instinct.
Oh, absolutely. In both these teams, you can kind of see how the Widows are already playing. They don't want to necessarily poke their head out too long. Ado, though, getting very, very low. Lei has to go back to heal them. But same thing with Xeno. You're going to have a lot of burst heal come out. You will lose Raptors. So that backline pressure gone right now for Red Team. And D-Land finds Vintage, so no DPS as well.
Yeah, and to be fair, you like these trades if you're green, especially because Sin is going to stay alive for right now. You still have plenty of care to be able to work with. You're going to get this over to the last corner. And the fact that ultimates aren't a factor, well, I'm not sure who that plays better for in the situation right here, but with Otto already around the corner from having that gravitic flux, if we get a long-term fight, that is likely going to be the difference maker. But a Serpent gets a nice shot coming through right here. The trade out for the DPS is going to make things really rough here for Red to kind of hang around with that little bit of extra care that Otto was having with holding the poke angles, I should say. Unfortunately, it's just going to be another quick take, realistically. A Serpent gets another.
And Red just trying to solve this one out as long as they can. But one thing I like about this green team comp, it's forcing them to play a little bit slower. And I think that's something that's actually being to their benefit. Sin has shown us a lot throughout the night. They like to play as Doomfist, which is a little bit of a fast tank, one that you can fly by, see your pants maybe a little bit loose on it. I think the fact that they're playing a little bit of a slower tank, forcing everyone else to play a little bit slow, is actually helping them out here a lot. And now Green Team is going to be in a good spot here, especially with Ultimates coming online, where they're going to have Captain Sun, they're going to have Amp, they're going to have Flux, they're going to have their own visor here again, but Red Team's gonna have those exact same ultimates ready to go, other than Lei, who just got off the cat again, going over to the Iari again, but Mob gonna be able to shut them down. Green Team, this is by far their best round.
Yeah, and the shield blocks out the Captive Sun, but still, they're investing here Immortality, and I'm pretty sure they get Accretion out of the Flux as well. Two ultimates pretty much being shut down, but still the fight is continuing. Green is finding picks, making more and more progress, and if they can get a couple of late ones in here, it could be massive, but I think Red's looking for one more regroup.
Yeah, they're looking for one more regroup, and I think Vintage with that death right there is going to probably give up on this Widow. It's not finding the value you want. The Ambush out here for Monterey as they're trying to get the second point, and they might just be able to. Nice blocking coming out there, but no, enough of a touch to come out. Now Xeno going to pop their own Amp Matrix.
Yeah, now just trying to hang around, stay alive for as long as you can. If you're out, you are the last line right now to stay over on this point. Everyone else can peek a little bit, but they can't really jump out here in the open or else things will go very badly, very quickly. But you see the accretion coming through, forcing Underwind down a comfortable position, and now all everybody can do is throw their bodies on here. Hope somebody can find a pick, but even with the Captain Sun being thrown in, it might not be enough. Gets rid of two, but unfortunately, three. Oh my, it's not enough, unfortunately. The cat goes through.
Again, Lei and these Captain Suns have been very, very big throughout this entire map. But right now, I would expect to see some swaps come out from Red Team, because this is the first time throughout the night that the team that Ado's been on, it just kind of looked like they've just been walked over right now. I don't think this Widow's working as well as you would be hoping for if your Vintage. Raptor, though, does have Blade, Flux ready to go here for Ado. But you could say the same things here right for about Green Team as well. You're going to have Flux, you're going to have Blade, you're going to have Captain Sun, and you're going to have Amp Matrix. You have a good opportunity here just to kind of walk through this point if you want.
Hey, yeah, Lei, again, it was just been doing such a good job on the Solari. Is going to keep on trucking forward. Trying to work up to another Captive Sun, obviously not really anywhere there yet, but still, 4 minutes on the clock, and Green is probably going to have to really focus on shutting on somebody like Leia's. Blade is going to come through. Raptor gets rid of one, and that should be enough to make that one taken care of, as gets with the accretion, but somehow doesn't get the follow-up on them.
No, it does not. But, I mean, if you're Green Team, you take that one right there. You didn't use anything. You did use Flux in that one, not able to get through the choke. But you still have your own Blade. You still have your own Captain Sun and your own Amp Matrix. Xeno going to come up their Amp Matrix here. Ado does have Flux as well. And they can kind of use the Flux on the outside. But there you go. Vintage finally hitting their first shot. Or not their first, but hitting a shot here on this Widow. And, again, it's just slowing down Green and Red, slowly getting back up to the performance we've seen them all night long here. Flux, though, out. Going to be able to find two.
Yeah, and Immortality Field also used in the process, so Green can't really go anywhere. No one can really step in here reliably. You're going to have to wait for Malv to get back, and you're either going to have to go in with the Captive Sun, or maybe you take the Raw Blade instead, but with D-Land down, that option can no longer be expended.
Yeah, but Green, they've at least gone through the choke, which is exactly what you need to do here. So you'll take the one death just to get through it. Granted, it was because Monterey did invest their own Amateurs there, and now Xeno might have to use it just to keep Ado alive. Instead, it's going to be the Immortality Field doing just that.
Yeah, mouth body shot. It has to just hide away, realize you can't really peek out right here. Eventually going to fully pull back, and that's the right call, as Vintage had those sights ready to go. And Captain Sun available. hoping for some kind of target, gonna throw it in. It's going to get deflected back in mouth. It's exploded.
Oh my goodness.
And now it's Lazone that's gonna clear out even more bodies. Diggs, when is the last time you saw a deflection on a Cactive Sun?
It's been a while. It has been a while, mostly because Genji just hasn't been necessarily, I feel like, that strong. But, I mean, Raptors made the Genji look great. And now, look over at Green. Both support ultimates gone without really finding anything other than just a little bit of space for the choke. But now that space is all but lost. D-Land's still holding on to the blade. Sin does have a flux. But, again, you're running out of time here right now. Great plays coming out from Red Team. Individual plays, again, have been really carrying this team. But when they work as a team, Red Team, they look almost unstoppable.
Yeah, and now Green has to be so selective as to how they play this. They're trying to peek things out. They take the trade. But, again, it's really rough. You lose out on your tank, and, you know, you're sending D-Land in there to try to find something. Eventually, you should be able to track down Xeno, but that's not even confirmed because D-Land's on 1 health and is somehow going to stay alive. Crazy.
Serpent going to be able to help them out there finding Raptor, and then it's just the 1 health in a dream finding Xeno out. But still, now Green Team finally getting the cart rolling here again. Visor out here from Serpent, so now they're going to be watching Vintage like a hawk here. But Red Team, they're actually in a good spot here, just be able to stall. They have ultimates as well. Blade, though, actually knows Lay going to be able to die their Sin, now popping the Flux.
Yep, Raptor does have Blade, though, and has it ready to go. Flux be throwing back Fear by Auto to find somebody. Accretion is going to miss, so now you have a target. As now Blade comes through. You need to find something here, and now Mao's going to get taken out. I don't think it finds any inherent value. Raptor gets rid of another, and they're going to find the full reset here. Sin, last one to fall. And with 40 seconds left, that is every ultimate from Green expended.
Yeah, unfortunate as well. I mean, you had opportunities with all of them, but it just didn't find anything. And now Red Team, they still have 3 ultimates here. Yeah, one of them's a Visor, but you still have Amp, you still have a Captive Sun, which we've seen Lay find three picks with 1, 2 picks with another, and then another one that found 3 picks as well. So you're walking into a very scary ultimate in the hands of Lay here.
Yep. And now again, you don't even have anything to really deflect this or stop it either. You have Immortality Field, but that's your best shot at stopping it. So if you're Lay, you're waiting for them to have to start forcing some bodies over on the point. Serpent, though, with a nice shot. They barely get the retouch in time, by the way, as Xeno's hoping to make a room over on the top. But here comes that shot from Lay. I think caught at least one with it. And now with D-Land gone, exploded. This is going to be tough to pull back from as Lay takes Mon off for the high ground. And it's going to be the cleanup crew coming through. Just a couple more remaining. And that will be done and dusted. Green going to be held off on the final corner. A great map for the Red Squad, but a phenomenal map for Lay.
Yeah, I mean, Lay at points this map looked like they could be playing hit scan DPS. I mean, they just were able to hit shot after shot. Lay didn't play the game. I mean, like you said, isn't she supposed to be holding something?
I think so.
But Lay, again, we talked about how Lay's been playing throughout this entire series, throughout this entire trial. They've just looked great, time after time again, and this map was just furthering that. I mean, they played Cat, it worked. I mean, Cat worked way too well for them on that map, but they've shown us so much this entire trial, and again, I talked about Ado a lot, it's impressed me. Lay, though, they right now are probably setting themselves up higher and higher and higher in the eyes of the coaches because they played incredibly. Even with the support swap there, it looks like it actually did help both teams, as that was probably the closest map we've had so far throughout the night. But still, the team with Ado, the team with Lay, ends up coming out on top.
Yeah, that's kind of been the trend thus far. And again, while they've been impressive throughout the entire evening, that Illari has especially been the case. A character which, to be fair, I think does have a lot of skill expression, more than I think some people tend to remember sometimes. I mean, almost single-handedly pulled back that fight for what was almost essentially a 1v5. Like, who knows how things would have gone if you still had, your tank hanging around in there. But either way, I think it's a great display, and while Lay does a good job, I think it's a consistent map for a lot of different players as well. Again, we saw the bit of the swap up. I think Xeno found themselves having a pretty good day as well in terms of everything over here on Circuit Royale. But if there's someone who I think really improved this map the most, I think Serpent's the one to bring up. I think they were doing a lot on the Widowmaker.
Yeah, like I said, especially as Green Team was pushing through that second round, the fact that they were playing a little bit of a slower composition, I think really helped them out. It did, because I think slowing down a little bit of what we were seeing there from Sin allowed that entire team to kind of also slow down, take a deep breath in some situations, and you just saw everyone there kind of really exceed off it. Yeah, they were going good all the way up until after they captured the second point, but still, they looked a lot better and almost being able to complete the map. Like I said, that's by far been our closest map of the night. I think just because you were able to slow down a little bit, it allowed Serpent to take those good angles, especially going up against Vintage, who has had their number a lot throughout the night, and it just allowed so much better team play, I think, to come out from that green team.
Yeah, I believe so as well. So we'll see how kind of things affect what we believe is going to be the last map. Obviously, we have no actual full-on confirmation, but you do?
No, I said no idea.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I could
no idea. It'll probably be our last map for that matter, if they decide to do the double block, which credit to them if they do. Maybe they have more people to show off. But seeing what we've seen now, I'm sufficiently happy with what we've been able to see from everybody thus far, and it'll be nice to see them in one more map to kind of round things out, which if we're following the trend, how we've gone throughout the entirety of the night, probably not going to see any swap-ups. Potentially maybe you swap around the other support, but that will just basically bring it back to what it already was throughout the night, so I don't imagine anything's going to change. We'll see what comes through. But again, we haven't played Flashpoint so far. We've done double escort. But maybe we do just go back to control to end the night. Again, it's up in the air. We'll just have to see what happens.
I would like to see Flashpoint. I feel like Flashpoint's going to be a very vital map for a lot of teams, and again, you just want to play every map mode once, so Flashpoint is the last one that is there. Again, I don't remember what map we ended on last time, but I think Flashpoint, you just need to play it. I think it's a fun, I think honestly Flashpoint might be one of the best modes in the game right now. But again, I would like to see, I know it's probably not going to happen, I would like to see more than 2 bans come out. Like hell, ban out the Domina still, ban out the Tracer, ban out Lucio, but no, Cat and Soj gonna be the name of the game this time around, gonna be banned out. And looks like we're gonna be heading to Elio, so a control map here to potentially end off the night for this trial, or for this block for Team Mexico tryouts. And again, you get rid of Soj, you're really focusing in on Vintage and Serpent. However, they've been mostly playing Emre, Cassidy, Ash throughout the night. We have seen a little bit of Soj here and there, but it's definitely been those other hit scans. And Cat, again, this is just really much targeted at Lei at this point. You want to make sure that they don't find a lot of good opportunities, especially on this map where Catnap, yeah, definitely does have its beneficial aspects to it. But you see Lucio's for them, which Lei, I feel like, is one of the heroes we have not seen them play, because I believe the last time Cat was banned, so was Lucio.
Yeah, they were both banned in that same instance, so it was kind of hard to see what was going to happen there. But either way, we'll see how this last one ends up going down, as seeing Xeno and Lei back together in this exchange. We'll see how we end up going into things right now. Sin back over on that Doomfist as well. I think this map could play very well for the Doomfist. I think, in fact, all of Ilios could definitely play into him. But we'll see what the exchange is going to be as you see this backline assault right here. As Malv eventually going to be ran down and the support's gone. Red is hoping to get the cleanup crew going, and this first fight should securely be theirs.
But look at how Red Team's playing this fight. Yeah, you'll lose
Sin,
Xeno, and you lose Vintage as well. But you're going to end up finding out Sin, and they were playing essentially as a unit. All 5 members were within 5 feet of each other, which, granted, a lot of times you want to say no, never do that, but especially in that kind of situation where you're running down on one person after another, it worked out very well for Red Team. And Serpent already getting off the Widow, which I was gonna say, I think this is a good pick for them. They're able to kind of sit back. Monterey able to find Lei. I think we're gonna see a little bit of a different performance from Lei, because I feel like have kind of been avoiding the Lucio throughout the entire night in favor of that Cat, and I think this Lucio at some points gives you a little bit too much freedom to say push up. But Serpent,
yeah, that's the double with the nade right there. Now, unfortunately, that's going to be enough right there. And now, yeah, Otto going to be given the quick reset here as everyone's going to get pushed back. You take that aggression, though, and try to find someone else. Unfortunately, that punch may be a little too quick as you're going to see everyone get out of there and reset.
Yeah, but again, this is what you want to see from this green team. A little bit more pressure. I think it's Doomfist, like you said, could find a little bit more value on this map. I think it definitely does. You have to also worry about on the other 2 points where, hey, there are edges. Doomfist could knock you off, but Ado now going straight, and Vintage able to find their counterpart. Again, that's been something we have seen all night long.
Definitely. It has been so back and forth in that exchange right there, but you're going to see the nano be thrown in right there, and Mouth may go down, but Dylan's just trying to find a little bit of something for it. Unfortunately, really isn't getting too much value. Got the early pick onto Lei at the very least, but they're in such an unfortunate position. Red is going to try to flip this point over, and there's going to be the solo sound barrier, and to be fair, it would be insane if this somehow works out because Sin is hanging in there. Unfortunately, you see the exchange coming through, but it looks like Red's not going to be able to really follow up too well. Green is beginning to stabilize. The flip comes through regardless, so this does make things a lot more hectic.
Ado, though, still kind of pushing up. They do have Bomb as a safety tool here, but they're going to have to use it at this point. And now, oh, wow, nice job by Sin keeping themselves alive and by almost getting the DMAC on Ado. They will find it there as well. Beat not enough, and I don't think Ado even got it.
No, I don't think so either. That's really unfortunate. And now, without your tank, you're forced to take the reset, let things go, and now you're coming up Override Protocol here for Serpent's Eye, who's going to let it loose right here, right now. Going to try to take this fight really quickly as, yeah, Otto's going to try to get the race back over there. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's going to come fast enough right here. Vintage lucky to still be hanging alive in there, but eventually everyone else should be cleared out, and Otto is pretty much there just for the stall game as the rest of the team is currently coming back from that spawn.
Yeah, I mean, they're stalling it out. A good job here. Ado, though, will eventually have to fall back and regroup with the rest of the surviving members, which is just at this point Xeno. But that was a pretty costly fight there for Green. However, you still have Pulse Bomb, you have Nano, you have Beat, or Meteor Strike not that far away, so never mind. It wasn't really that much of a costly fight. Red Team, they did use their own Pulse Bomb and their own Beat, but they have Kitsune Rush going into this fight. This has been by far the most back and forth we've seen this Green Team all night long. Still keeping that momentum they had from that last map.
Yeah, for sure. Kitsune Rush is available for Xeno, though. It's the one big ultimate still available, but Mao has lived long enough to get this Nano on display. You can throw this over onto Sin, or maybe D-Lant again and get something going, but you see it thrown. Oh, it's the Boostio. They're going to move in with that. With 90%, who it's on right now isn't going to matter. You're going to clear out Edo, and you should have this first round locked and key.
Yeah, I mean, a really good performance here from this Green Team. Again, they are keeping up the momentum they got from that last map. Even though they didn't end up winning, they looked a lot better. Now they're looking like the better team here. And I imagine we're going to see some swaps coming out here from Red Team. Not just Ado swapping over to the ball there for a brief moment, but probably a little bit more after that. But still, I think Lei getting off the cat and playing this Lucio, I think it's actually been a little bit of a hindrance to them. They don't look the same. They don't feel as comfortable. They put themselves in sticky situations a lot. And normally a lot of the time on the cat, they're able to get out of it pretty easily. This time though, the Lucio, a much bigger hitbox, a much bigger character as well, has been getting punished time after time again. And it looks like we're not going to be seeing any swaps necessarily from Red Team. Raptor will probably swap right back over to the Tracer after the TPs come out, as both Sims will. But Green Team, again, you said it right, Hunter. The Doomfist working very well on this map. The D.Va, I think, struggles a little bit going into Sin's Doomfist.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And now you see Amelia Sin is just winning the backline already, by the way. It is going to keep drawing attention. And you either have to all 5 turn, or you have to all 5 ignore it and go for this front line. You can't do the in-between. It's not going to work out. But you can see for now, they've done a good job of pushing Sin out of this battlefield and try to give themselves a little bit more space to work with. But with the point unlocked, Red had themselves securely on it. You might see a little bit of stall coming through from Green, as Red doesn't really finish the job on it so far, as you're trying to get that first pick to kind of give yourself the advantage early on. But so far, everyone being very stubborn, nobody wants to go down first.
Yeah, no one wants to make the first mistake, especially on this point where it's hard to take it sometimes. And Red Team almost gets the cap right there. They seem to force Green off a little bit longer, but no. Red completely off, and you see almost capping it, now back down to 50% as each team looking for the first one. There's the first pick, and now it's being followed up on.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's just going to be a stall game coming through from Green, and Sin is probably going to want to try to live there. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen, as Serpent will be the last one to go down. So again, it's a really long fight. Goes well for Red. Now Lei has I would say, the pretty significant advantage with that sound barrier.
And D-Lant getting off of the Tracer, who was honestly ahead of Raptor on the Pulse Bomb, going over to the Echo now instead. And I think this is a good swap to them, because they really want to try to get Ado out of this mech. That focusing beam going to become something that's very, very important here now for them. And you're going to be looking at Vince to try to shut them down as much as they possibly can. I like the positioning here, though, from Red, getting a lot of good intel on where everyone is, trying to force Sin to maybe make the first mistake of diving and going too far into the backline.
Yeah, you said it right there. And now nearly 40% already on the board. Sin so close to going down already, and in fact is going to get fully cut off. So now...
Another Boostio.
Yeah, why not? We love the Boostio here as they're going to keep moving in. Otto is lucky to still be in the Mac. He's going to use the bomb to re-Mac, which is a really interesting decision, I will say.
Well, they don't get it either. Serpent took care of them early enough, but still you're seeing the rest of the cleanup here from red team. However, Sin going to be able to find one before eventually Raptor shuts them back down. So in the end, yeah, I mean, the remake does not happen, but you still get the cleanup there. Nano came out. I imagine that was supposed to go on to someone else, but went back onto Monterey. But you still have 4 ultimates coming up right here for green team. Same thing, though, could be said for red team as well, especially having that consumer rush and their own beat. They're in a good spot. Pulse bomb out, though. Not going to be able to find anything, but hey, Vince's own grenade will be able to find one.
Yeah, but taking the trade out for the M-Rays, don't know how you feel about it right here. You have to go with the copy just to make sure you stay alive. Should be able to get a bomb here ready for the exchange, but Zeno down to the boot, 90% on the board. Green hoping to find some kind of swap as, you know, D-Land's going to be able to throw this bomb up and into the air and at least force everybody off the point. 99% as Green got to stabilize at last.
Yeah, Ada got DMAC'd right there, and there wasn't really any opportunity for a touch there from red team. And I like the play here from them. Only losing 2, just completely falling back, regrouping. Green team just invested a lot in that last fight. You still have your own override. You still have your own Kitsune rush here, so you're in a good spot. But I would not be surprised to see dueling override protocols coming out here, as you saw Sin just fly past you there. Ado somehow barely missing them.
Yeah, somehow, some way. But we're proceeding on forward. 30% left. Override protocol here to go to try to make a little bit of space. You would love to get out of that mech early, but you see the separation comes through. Lei is down, and unfortunately for Red, another fight's going to fall apart here as you only need the one invested to take that one away, and Vincent ends up losing out on that exchange. And with the D-Mech coming through as well, a slight bit of staggering coming through.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you were wanting if you're green team here. You had a very slow, sluggish start to this point, and now you're slowly starting to get going. Like I said, this is a hard point to take back. You really need to basically just win a fight completely out here. And red team, yeah, they had the Kitsune rush, but you're looking over at green team now. They still have their nano. They're not that far away from a meteor strike. They're in a good spot here. They just need one more fight to go their way, and half health right there. You cannot afford to lose your Lucio first, as they're kind of going in on their own.
No, you cannot. And now, again, with that nano, it's just so polarizing to have to deal with. You do see, you know, has gotten away momentarily as you're trying to find the finish up right here as Otto again going to be forced off the point. This has been such a good defense here so far for green.
Yeah, and I mean, you look over at green. Mob now going over to the Juno. D-Land, though, has a duplicate and Meteor Strike online for Sin. You can give up the point here, but you cannot afford to have a team kill go your way if you're green. Red team, though, you just need to be able to get something going. You have Bomb, you have Pulse, and you have Kitsune Rush. Kitsune Rush, though, has been held onto for a while, but the Pulse Bomb finds its target.
Yeah, and now Red is starting to take things back over. It's going to be down to D-Land to find something here with the remake momentarily, and the remake is going to be available. You see a lot of people separated. One can be down from it. In the way the bomb goes, they barely are able to retouch right here as the sound barrier is now ready to go. You were hoping to find something somewhere as Sin just trying to hold on to the point as long as they can. Eventually gets rid of Zeno. And now, without those bit of heals, everyone's going to be forced back. Bomb is there to defend. Serpent somehow takes it out, but nobody can get the retouch in time. Green takes the second one away, and now one more to go. But my God, what a back and forth exchange.
Yeah, and Green will take the map off that as well. Yeah, we'll still play the third one. I think Legolas is forgetting we're playing Swim Code. Unless they might actually just end it now. They might just end it now.
There's a chance. There's a real chance. We're gonna find out.
We'll figure it out here in about 17 seconds. But again, like I said, Green Team was able to carry that momentum they got from Circle Royale and brought into this one here. Sin, I think this is the best they've looked on this Doomfist throughout the night. And yeah, there goes everyone. So I believe we're going to be ending it now. Sin finally got the Doomfist to really work for them. I think that's the biggest thing on this map is in particular. I think you really started seeing, you even mentioned, this is a good Doomfist map. I think all the other maps we've been seeing Doomfist on, they're still good Doomfist maps, but they're not as good as what Ilios is for it. And Sin, I think, was the highlight of that map there for him. And you saw a lot of good plays come out from that Green Team as well. And finally, you're just able to put together a map, which is what you really needed there for that team.
Yeah, it is really what you needed. Again, a lot of close moments for them in previous maps where they weren't able to find too much success. Again, had great moments, but I think this is one where they really found it. I think this was Sin's best map over here on the Doomfist, making a lot of space, able to managing a lot of aggression as well, which I think ended up working out really well. So I'd be interested to see another block with Sin playing the Doom a lot and seeing how it kind of develops, because now Doom is one of those things where it's not the easiest thing to have to work with, you know? If you're in comp, it's one thing, but structuring a whole team around doing it, it's different. But we've seen it work out for some teams where it's like, hey, we go down the specific tank route, and it really works for us. So we'll just have to kind of see how things go, because obviously nothing's locked in place for this roster. They're going to keep trying as many things as they can with the time that they've got.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I have to agree with you there. But so you saw a lot of good other performances come out there from that DPS line, which had been hit or miss in some maps. But again, Serpent was able to really continue that momentum they had from Circuit Royale. I think he had good performances from everyone on that green team. Same thing for Red Team, though. But you saw the little mistakes that were happening here and there, especially once they gave up the point on both points that we saw there. They just weren't able to really ever get it back. They didn't have the ultimates, and when they used them, it seemed like they were maybe using them at the wrong moment. Some people, I think, were holding on to ultimates way too long. I think the Tsumi Rush was ready for about 3-4 fights before it was finally used there. I understand waiting for the right moment, but you just kind of need to throw that ultimate out there. That's when you can get back very, very quickly, especially after 3 fights.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's an amazing exchange by them there, and I'm really happy that they finished on such a strong note. But obviously, we'll see how things go in the future for Team Mexico. For what we know and what seems to have been said, there is, I believe, another block happening, but obviously it is for us here, it's late enough as is. It's gonna be very late by the time we get to that point. So I'll be happy to look into it tomorrow and see how things have gone. But Dex, for today, that will do it for us. But I think this is a really impressive day for every player in here. I think at the very least, everyone had their moments to shine, to show what they can do. And hopefully we see these 10 players a little more down the line and what capacity that will be, Dex. I couldn't begin to tell you. Again, we reiterate that we're happy we're not coaches, that we're not staff members that have to worry about, hey, who gets in.
Yeah, again, we saw a lot of good players here tonight. Again, there's another block happening right after this that we will not see, or at least will not be covering. I don't know if Team Mexico is going to be covering it. We'll figure that out here. So everyone just maybe just stick around after we go off screen, because if they continue, we'll send you over to Team Mexico, as they'll be showing maybe that second block.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll look out for that here in a moment. But at least for us, that is going to be it for the night. So again, we appreciate y'all being out here, having a good time. Hopefully, more stuff will down the line, as again, there is quite a little bit scheduled up for Team Mexico in terms of their tryouts. So hopefully we get to see more down the line. Hopefully we get to be able to be on the mic for it as well. So once more, appreciate y'all. Hope y'all have a good evening. Make sure to keep supporting all these amazing World Cup teams and everyone that is working hard to put them together. So we'll see y'all next time. Take care.